Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're starting part 1 of an awesome What If Deku Was All for One's Son and All Might Adopted Him story. If you want to see part 2, drop a comment below and tell me what you think. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Now let's jump into the story. All Might had been asked before about his motives for becoming a hero. It was a common question among the professionals, but as the #1 hero his answers drew much more attention. Each time he was faced with the question, he put on his All Might smile and gave the simple answers that everyone expected. It was all about saving people, about protecting them, about the strong protecting the weak. Everyone would smile and nod in agreement that he was the perfect hero, not batting an eye at explanation. But there was another reason, a secret reason. Revenge. Against the evil that had killed his mentor, that had brought about villains into the world, against the man that he was destined to destroy. That revenge would be fulfilled today. All for One's secret base was well protected. Mazes, traps, villains, all of them distractions to give him time to sneak away with his most powerful projects. All Might had been through this before, as had 7 others before him, but this time something felt different. This time he was going to win at last. He only needed to break past all of the obstacles and stop All for One before he could escape. With the world's strongest heroes at his back, they wouldn't be a problem. There was only one thing he hadn't counted on, and that was that their element of surprise was lost. All Might realized it just as he was reaching his goal. Somehow All for One knew they were coming. There could be no other explanation for it. They were just minutes too late. All Might slammed his fists angrily against the ground and held in a scream of anger and frustration. So close. Again, he'd come so close to fulfilling his destiny, and yet All for One had slipped away again. We'll get him next time, 𝐼𝐴 said, placing a hand on All Might's shoulder as he turned to go. For now, we need to sweep the area. Anything he left behind might be a clue as to where he's headed next. We can't give him or his lackeys time to destroy it. All Might knew that he was right. He couldn't let his personal feelings get in the way, especially while they were still in enemy territory. If he truly wanted to get his revenge, then there was no time to waste. All for One couldn't be far. He joined 𝐼𝐴 and 𝐼𝐴 in sweeping through the deepest rooms of the compound. They were all either gutted or destroyed, leaving behind only vague evidence of All for One's experiments. The destruction was clearly done by All for One student, Tomura Shigaraki. All Might was starting to feel the deep pain of failure in his chest when he noticed one hidden door far at the end of a dark hallway. If not for the faint light flickered under the door, he wouldn't have noticed it at all. The door was locked from the outside and swung in easily when he turned the handle. Inside the room was dark and messy, with the exception of a television screen. The sound was muted, but old news footage of All Might was playing. As his eyes adjusted to the light, All Might realized that his face was everywhere. Posters on the wall, action figures scattered across the floor, and all other types of books, CDs, toys. Creepy. Why would All for One have a room full of his nemesis's merchandise? A small sniffle rose the hair on the back of All Might's neck as he realized that the room wasn't empty. Someone was there. Reaching for the light, he flicked it on quickly and braced himself for whatever villain might come after him. Instead, he saw a small All Might bed, with matching sheets and covers, in the far corner of the room. Buried under the covers, hugging tightly to several All Might plush dolls and pillows, a very small figure was crying. When the light clicked on, they squeaked and pulled the covers over their head. Toshinori approached cautiously, heart racing. He heard 𝐼𝐴 and 𝐼𝐴 come to the door behind him and motioned for them to stay back. This could be dangerous. Reaching the bed, he knelt beside it and gently gave the covers a small tug. Just enough to let the person know that he was there, but not enough to take it away. "Are you all right?" he asked gently. The covers squeaked again in reply and pulled away. He could hear tiny, muffled sobs through the pillows. "I'm not going to hurt you," he promised. "Will you come out?" The covers shook and scooted away another few inches. "Please. It's okay now, you don't have to be afraid. Do you know why?" All Might put on his best smile as he delivered his classic line. "It's because I am here." The bundle of blankets gave a small jolt of surprise, then were quickly thrown back. "All Might." All Might only got a quick glance at the child at first before they jumped on him, hugging his neck tightly and sobbing loudly in his ear. "Hush now, you don't need to cry anymore." All Might glanced back at his companions as he tried to coax the little one off of him. "It's okay." He managed to sit the boy down on the bed again and help him dry his puffy eyes. While the boy was sniffling and hiccuping, he was finally able to get a good look at him. 6 or 7 years old, dressed in an All Might onesie with the hood pulled up over his thick green curls. Though his green eyes were bloodshot from his crying, they sparkled with adoration when he looked up at him. "Are you here to save me?" He started to reach out to grab All Might again, then stopped himself and held his arms close to his chest. "That's right." All Might noticed his actions, but didn't say anything about it. "I'm All Might." "I know." The boy nodded eagerly and pointed to the still running screen behind them. "I watch you all the time. You're the best hero ever. I knew you would come. And here I am." All Might agreed. "What's your name?" "Izuku. It's Izuku Midoriya. I'm 7 and I don't have a quirk. These are my hero friends, Sir Night Eye and Gran Torino." All Might said, signaling that it was safe for them to join him. "You're All Might's sidekick." Izuku bounced a little on the bed, looking up at Sir Night Eye with almost as much excitement as he had with All Might. "Nice to meet you." Sir Night Eye nodded and placed a hand on top of Izuku's head, looking directly into his eyes. Izuku smiled wider. "Are you using your quirk on me? How did you dash?" All Might began, but Izuku was already fishing something out from under his pillows. "Look, it's in my hero book." He proudly showed them a notebook, opening to a page with a crayon drawing of Sir Night Eye. The page was also full of large, shaking letters and pictures with arrows pointing to the different parts of the hero's costume and powers. "I write down all the heroes I see on TV. Except I've never seen you before," he added, looking over at Gran Torino. "What's your quirk? I'll put you in my book." "I don't do much hero work." Gran Torino answered simply. "Where are your parents?" Izuku's face fell and he closed the notebook, hugging it tightly to his chest. All Might noticed that he was rocking himself slightly as he spoke. "Teach, they aren't here." "When was the last time you saw your mother?" All Might prodded gently. Izuku pulled his knees up to his chest and hid behind his hood. "Mommy's gone. She died." "I'm sorry, Izuku." All Might placed a hand on his small shoulder. "What about your daddy? Is he gone too?" Izuku shivered and a chill of fear filled the room. "Daddy came to get me after Mommy died. He hurts people. He's scary. I don't want to live here with him anymore." His eyes filled with tears again and he started crying once more. "I want Mommy back. I want to go home." "It's okay, Izuku," All Might assured him. Sir Night Eye tapped All Might's shoulder and nodded out towards the hallway. All Might nodded and rubbed the top of Izuku's head. "Can you wait here for me? We're going to make sure there aren't any villains before we go. Gran Torino will stay with you." "Oh, okay." Izuku nodded. All Might followed Sir Night Eye out of the room and asked softly, "What is it?" "Your foresight." "Listen, All Might, that kid is dangerous," Sir Night Eye warned. "He said he doesn't have a quirk, but he's lying. He's powerful and destructive. There's a reason they've kept him locked up in here." "I'm not leaving him." All Might shook his head. "Izuku's father may be a villain, but he's just a kid." From Izuku's story, it was clear that Izuku's father was in the League of Villains. It easily explained why he was here, though it didn't seem right for All for One to allow family to live in his secret base. But Izuku had been locked up, so perhaps there were plans to use him in one of the quirk experiments. "I saw it, All Might," Sir Night Eye insisted. "He's got a strong quirk that he doesn't know how to use." "I'll be careful," All Might promised, looking back into the room. Izuku was showing Gran Torino more pages of his hero book, pointing at all the pictures and explaining them to him. Besides, keeping him locked away would only make a problem like that worse. Once we get him out of here, we can get him the help he needs. "Well, don't say I didn't warn you." All for One looked down at the swarms of heroes and police below with a scowl on his face. They were always such a nuisance to his plans. Not a problem or hindrance in any way, but annoying nonetheless. Though he couldn't see him, he was sure that All Might was there searching for him. He wasn't in the mood to fight with the latest holder of his brother's quirk, he had more important things to worry about. You were able to clear the rooms? He asked his student without turning. Yeah, and we saved all the experiment specimens. 𝐼𝐸 nodded, stepping up beside him. But I don't know why we had to run away, we could have taken all of them. Even All Might. All Might isn't a problem for you. All for One smiled at the faithful earnestness in his student's voice. You're right, he isn't, but I don't want to waste my time fighting with him. I have much more important things to deal with. You've done well today, I'm proud of your work. Can we go now? 𝐼𝐸 scratched his neck and looked away, pretending not to soak in every drop of praise he was given. All for One nodded, but paused just as he was about to leave the scene. He thought back over the evacuation and realized that there was one important piece that he hadn't seen removed from the old hideout. 𝐼𝐸, where is Izuku? Who? 𝐼𝐸 frowned. You didn't put me in charge of him, how would I know where he is? 𝐼𝐸, All for One's voice took on a low, dangerous growl. Where is my son? Geez, I don't know. 𝐼𝐸's soft rubbing of his neck turned to angry scratches. Last I saw him he was in his room. I'll go find him and bring him back. You'd better. All for One balled his hands into fists. And if I find out that he was left behind, then the one responsible will find themselves wishing they were dead. I want my son, now, and I don't care who you have to kill to get him here. Izuku kept quiet on their way out. He'd been chatty while they were in his room, but in the dark hallways he buried his head into All Might's chest and held on to the front of his uniform tightly. He was trembling slightly, eyes screwed shut and mouth tightly closed. You don't need to be scared, Izuku. All the bad people are gone. All Might promised him. Izuku nodded, but was still frightened. He'd brought his hero book with him and hugged it with one arm. Careful, Gran Torino warned behind him. They may come back for him. Izuku heard him and shook his head. Daddy doesn't love me, he won't come back. He never reads with me or plays with me or tucks me in, he's too busy with his work. All Might hugged Izuku a bit tighter. It bothered him how sad and lonely the little boy sounded, and how frightened he was of the cement passages they were walking through. Izuku didn't seem underweight, and other than what appeared to be a lack of sunlight and fresh air, he was fairly clean and healthy. Someone had been taking care of him, at least his physical needs. Emotionally, Izuku seemed deprived and desperate. Can you keep a secret? Izuku asked softly. Sure. All Might agreed. Don't tell my daddy, but I want to be a hero just like you. Izuku told him. Can I? Even if I don't have a quirk like yours. All Might hesitated. Izuku's words reminded him of something he'd asked his teacher long ago. But becoming a hero for someone without a quirk was nearly impossible, not to mention dangerous. Still, he'd done it. But was it okay for him to encourage Izuku to pursue the same dream? Sensing his hesitation, Izuku's face became sadder. I knew it, just because I don't have a strong quirk like you or 𝐼𝐸. That's why Daddy doesn't let me go outside, because he says I'll get hurt. You don't need a strong quirk to be a hero, Izuku. All Might said at last. What you need is a strong heart and lots of work. Do I have a strong heart? I think you do. All Might nodded. So who knows, maybe you will be a hero someday. Izuku's eyes turned back to their sparkling state. You think so? I want to save people, not hurt them like Daddy and 𝐼𝐸 do. You know 𝐼𝐸? All Might asked cautiously. He's mean. Izuku pouted. Daddy makes him and 𝐭𝐸𝐫 take care of me while he's busy and I don't like them. The feeling is mutual, brat. All Might and his companions spun around to see 𝐼𝐸 Shigaraki behind them, flanked by two low-class nomas. He looked angrier than usual, bloodshot eyes fixed on the small boy in All Might's arms. He wants to see you. Izuku whimpered and leaned into All Might. I don't want to. He squeaked softly. Don't make me go. It's okay, Izuku. All Might told him again, quickly scanning the situation. He was confident that he and his teammates could take Tomura and the Nomus if it were a head-on fight, but they were here to take Izuku. One small slip and they would be gone, taking the boy with them. Narrowing his eyes on Tomura, he gave Izuku a small squeeze. "We'll keep you safe. He told me I can kill whoever I want." Tomura reached his arm out and dragged it along the wall as he stepped forward. At the touch of his fingers, the wall began to crumble away. "And I don't plan to waste the opportunity. As usual, you're all talk with no bite." 𝐺𝐻𝐿 and Sir Night-Eye both took ready stances, zeroing in on the Nomus opposite them. "Let's see how you and your pets really do. You can't fight them." Izuku shook his head, tugging on All Might's uniform. "I don't want you to get hurt." All Might set Izuku on the ground behind them and gently rubbed the top of his curly head. "Don't worry, Izuku. This is what heroes are for. I promise, nothing bad will ever happen to you while I'm around. Now cover your eyes, and don't peek." "Okay." Izuku nodded and covered his eyes, still shaking. All Might turned back to Tomura and the Nomus. Without having to say a word, he and his companions launched towards them in unison, each perfectly in sync with the other's movements. The low-class Nomus would be easy to smash, they'd had enough practice to make quick work of it. What they hadn't planned on was Tomura being more serious and riled up than they were used to. Fighting in the cramped hallway was difficult, especially with having to avoid Tomura's long arms. All Might was familiar with Tomura's quirk, decay, but he didn't have much experience fighting it in person. He did know that one touch from all 5 fingers could be fatal, and that was something he had to avoid at all costs. "All Might, watch out!" Izuku shouted, drawing his attention away from Tomura for a split second. Izuku had uncovered his eyes and was running to help, running right into the danger they were trying to protect him from. Taking advantage of All Might's distraction, Tomura broke apart the ground beneath them and launched himself forward, bringing his hand straight towards the hero's face. "No!" Izuku screamed as Tomura's open hand connected with All Might's face. He braced himself for the pain of having his flesh disintegrate, but it never came. He only felt the dry skin of Tomura's palm and fingers pressing down on him. Both Tomura and All Might were frozen for a moment in confusion. Together, they turned to see that Izuku had grabbed Tomura's other hand in an attempt to stop him. Where Izuku's small hands were latched onto Tomura's, the villain's skin was beginning to crack and fall apart. Tomura pushed Izuku back, releasing All Might to stand over the boy with a murderous glow in his eyes. Izuku cried out as he fell back, his hands hitting the ground roughly in an attempt to break his fall. On impact, the cement he touched started cracking as well. "You filthy little monster!" Tomura growled. "Give that back. Leave the heroes alone." Izuku shouted, though his voice broke with sobs. "You're such a bully, Tomura. Come here." Tomura reached for Izuku, but the boy ducked out of his reach and started running down the hallway. One of the Nomus threw 𝐺𝐻𝐿 back and turned to snatch Izuku up. When Izuku pushed away, the creature's body caved at his touch, decaying and dissolving into nothing. Izuku screamed and stumbled back in horror. He ducked away from Tomura again, then Sir Night-Eye as well as each one tried to stop him. Frightened and panicking, Izuku ran away from the fight. Each time he hit a wall, he only had to push against it and it would crumble into a doorway in front of him. He ignored both the heroes shouting after him in concern and Tomura's threats behind him. They were all chasing him, but Tomura was the only one who knew the layout of the hideout. He was the one who caught Izuku first, tripping him and then kicking him to the ground for good measure. Tomura climbed on top of Izuku, grabbing his wrists and pinning them above his head with one hand, his other hand latching itself around Izuku's small neck. "Give it back!" he shouted, squeezing both hands. Izuku screamed and kicked. "Let go, Tomu. I'll tell Daddy. Give me back my quirk." Tomura lifted and slammed Izuku's head into the ground. "Give it back, give it back, give it back." Izuku screamed and sobbed while he squirmed in Tomura's heavy grip. Within seconds, he was gasping for breath as the hand around his throat became tighter and tighter. All Might, reaching them at last, grabbed Tomura by the back of his shirt and yanked him away from Izuku. With full force, he threw the villain across the room and through the wall into the next. "Izuku, Are you hurt? 𝐒𝐿 choked and gasped, reaching out for All Might. All Might quickly caught his wrists and held his small hands away. If 𝐒𝐿 was still decaying everything he touched, they would have to be careful. With his breath back, 𝐒𝐿 started crying again. Sir Night-Eye and Gran Torino both rushed past to the next room after Tomura. He's not here. Don't move. All Might told 𝐒𝐿, letting go of his wrists and rushing over to the hole in the wall. Sure enough, Tomura was gone and a disintegrated hole was left in his place. All Might quickly looked back to 𝐒𝐿 and saw that both his hands were touching the ground, but nothing was happening. He couldn't hold back the smallest sigh of relief. Whatever had happened between 𝐒𝐿 and Tomura's quirks seemed to have righted itself. Should we follow? Sir Night-Eye started heading for the hole, but All Might shook his head. It's too dangerous. We've already lost for today. For now we just need to get 𝐒𝐿 out before they send anything else after him. I'm guessing this is what you meant about his quirk being out of control. Sir Night-Eye shook his head. Whatever that was, it wasn't what I saw. But I stand by what I said, he's dangerous. So are we. All Might walked back to 𝐒𝐿 and knelt in front of him. Don't worry, 𝐒𝐿, he's gone now. You're safe, just like I promised. He tried to pick 𝐒𝐿 up again, but the boy pushed him away. Hurt you? 𝐒𝐿 stuttered through his tears. I don't want to hurt you. It's okay, it's over now. All Might soothed. You're not going to hurt anyone, I promise. I'm just like him. 𝐒𝐿 wailed over him. I don't want to be. I don't want to hurt people. I want to be like you. Shush. All Might rocked him back and forth. It's okay, it's okay. Everything is okay now. I've got you. Just like him. 𝐒𝐿 was right. All Might had never seen it in action himself, but he knew the ins and outs of how the quirk worked. All for one, a quirk that could steal someone else's quirk. As Sir Night-Eye had said it, dangerous and powerful, one that had been used by another man to build a criminal empire that had lasted the last 1,000 years. But All for One wouldn't have given his quirk away, especially not to a little boy like 𝐒𝐿. The only way that 𝐒𝐿 could have that kind of quirk would be if he'd inherited it. 𝐒𝐿 had said that his father was a villain, but he didn't say that he was the villain. Don't want to hurt, 𝐒𝐿 stuttered again, sobbing too hard to finish any of his sentences. I'm sorry. My fault. It's okay, kiddo, you didn't do anything wrong. All Might stood and lifted 𝐒𝐿 with him, keeping his wrapped tight and safe in his arms. No matter where 𝐒𝐿 came from or who his parents were, he was just a scared little boy who only wanted to be safe. As a hero, it was All Might's job to make sure that he stayed that way. He would deal with All for One later, but for now his only focus was on taking care of 𝐒𝐿. Don't be scared, I've got you now and I'm never going to let you go. I promise. Once his hero costume was off, All Might stepped out of the limelight and into the far more comfortable shoes of Toshinori Yagi. Without his costume and hairstyle, he was almost never recognized as the symbol of peace. It was easier to get around without being stopped for autographs every step and much easier to pay 𝐒𝐿 a visit in the hospital where he was under observation the day after his rescue. Like he'd first thought, All for One hadn't neglected 𝐒𝐿's physical needs. He was healthy, if not slightly underweight, and strong enough that he was ready to be released. The question now was where he would go. All Might and his crew had decided it would be best to keep 𝐒𝐿's origins as much a secret as possible for now, at least until they knew more about the situation. 𝐒𝐿 was sitting quietly and fiddling with his sheets when the nurse introduced him. 𝐒𝐿, this is Mr. Yagi, from Might Tower. All Might sent him to check on you, wasn't that thoughtful? Hello, 𝐒𝐿. Toshinori smiled at him and offered a hand. 𝐒𝐿 glanced at the nurse, then timidly took Tosh's hand. Hi, he said softly. Do you mind if I sit down? Toshi nodded to the seat by the bed and 𝐒� shook his head. How are you feeling? Good. 𝐒� waited until the nurse had left the room, then leaned over and cupped his hand around Tosh's ear. All Might. Are you in disguise? Is something wrong? Are we not supposed to see each other? Toshi startled, but quickly laughed. It's nothing like that. Yagi is my real name and I just wanted to talk to you without drawing a lot of attention. I hope that's okay. Izuku nodded eagerly. I won't tell anyone, All Might, I promise. I mean Mr. Yagi. Toshi laughed, feeling relieved. He hadn't liked the idea of trying to trick Izuku and was happy that the boy had known who he was from the start. Don't worry about it, Izuku. He wasn't sure why he felt so relaxed talking to Izuku, the son of his greatest enemy. If you don't mind, can I ask you a few questions? You don't have to answer any of them if you don't want to. Izuku looked nervous, but he nodded. Okay, all me Mr. Yagi. First I want to apologize. I looked into your background without asking you. Was it bad? No, you haven't done anything wrong. I just wanted to learn more about you. I know that your mother died in an accident a year ago and that you went to live with your father, Hisoshi, after that. Since then, no one has heard from you. Izuku nodded. Daddy doesn't ever let me go outside. He says it's too dangerous for me. I can see why he would be worried about you. Toshi hated to agree. All for One clearly cared about Izuku in some way or another, even if he didn't know how to express it. Still, his actions had inflicted a great deal of damage on Izuku's emotions. What kind of quirk does your daddy have? Mommy said that he can breathe fire, but he never shows me. Izuku looked back at his hands, twisting around in the sheets. But as sometimes daddy touches someone and they start screaming. Toshinori felt a flash of anger run through his body. How could he have let Izuku see something like that? Izuku's eyes were full of a distant terror when he spoke about it. How often did you see your daddy hurt people? Izuku's breath hitched and he gripped the sheets with white knuckles. His lips were trembling. All Might reached over and took his hands, rubbing them softly with his thumb. I'm sorry, Aizu, I shouldn't have asked you that. I made you think of something bad, didn't I? Izuku nodded and let out a small sob. He didn't say anything else and All Might felt it was time to change the subject. What about you, Izuku? Your records say that you don't have a quirk. I didn't get one with the rest of my class. Izuku said, pulling one hand away to wipe his eyes. When I asked my daddy about it, he told me that if anyone asked me I was supposed to tell them that I didn't have one. Especially heroes. But something scary happened yesterday. What if it happens again? What will I do? I know it was scary for you, but everything is okay now. Toshi promised. That was just you using your quirk for the first time. It's a very special quirk and you've had it all this time, you just didn't know about it. I have a quirk. Izuku perked up. What is it? You do have a quirk. All Might nodded. It's called All for One and it's the same quirk that your daddy has. Izuku frowned. You know my daddy? Your daddy and I have known each other for a long time. Toshi carefully dodged the question. It was his understanding that Izuku didn't know just how big of a villain his father really was. Your quirk lets you take quirks from other people, and it also allows you to give those quirks to anyone you like. So yesterday I took Tomura's quirk away from him. But how? I don't think you did it on purpose. Toshi explained, happy to see that Izuku seemed to be following along without any trouble. But when you touched Tomura, what were you thinking about? He was going to kill you with his quirk. I wanted to stop him. Izuku gave Toshi's hand a tight squeeze. And you did save me. Thank you for that, by the way. You wanted to take Tomura's quirk away from him so that he wouldn't be able to hurt anyone. Then how did he get it back? Well, you were touching each other. What were you thinking about then? Tomura kept yelling that he wanted his quirk back and I didn't want it. It was so scary, I thought I was going to kill you or someone else by mistake like I did with the Nomu. Izuku stopped talking suddenly, eyes changing back to fear as he remembered what had happened the day before. Hey now! Toshi quickly drew his attention away. What you did to save people. There's nothing wrong with that. What if I do it again? What if I take your quirk? You can't take my quirk, it's special. Toshi stopped Izuku from trying to pull his hand away. My quirk is the only quirk you can't take. My quirk is called One for All. Izuku liked talking about quirks, and hearing Toshi mention his own seemed to take his mind away from his fears. All for One and One for All. Isn't that a bit confusing? It's very confusing. Toshi agreed, but let me tell you more about it. You see, a long time before you were born, your daddy and his brother, your uncle, didn't get along very well. Your daddy wanted your uncle to listen to him more, but your uncle didn't want to do what he told him to. Your daddy knew about his quirk, but he didn't know that your uncle had one too. So he gave him a quirk that would make him stronger by keeping power inside his body. But it turned out that your uncle did have a quirk already, a quirk that let him give his quirk to someone else. The two got all mixed up, and in the end, a new quirk was born. One for all. Izuku bounced with excitement. But I didn't know I had an uncle. He died before you were born, but before he did, he gave his quirk to someone else. And that person gave it, and then the next, until it finally came to me. So you can give it away, but no one can take it from you. Izuku nodded. That's so cool. You know, Toshi laughed a little at the thought, since I have your uncle's quirk, that almost makes us family, doesn't it? Then, does that mean I can come and live with you? Izuku asked quickly. Wait, Aizu, I don't. Toshi couldn't backpedal fast enough. I'm not good at taking care of people. Night Eye and I, we're looking for a safe place for you to live. Living with a hero, that would put you in a lot of danger. I wouldn't want to do that to you. Oh, okay. Izuku pulled his hands back into his lap and curled his shoulders forward. He was about to cry. Toshi could see it. I'll still come and see you, I promise. He tried to reach out to Izuku again, but the boy pulled away. And I'm going to make sure your daddy stops hurting people. Okay. Izuku nodded, still not looking up at him. Izuku no. Izuku jerked his arm away when Toshi tried to take it. He sobbed once and turned away. I just want to be like you. Toshi slowly retracted, feeling cold inside. What a JRK he'd been. Okay, I'll leave you alone. He stood and stopped himself from trying to reach out to Izuku again. Is it okay if I come back and visit you again soon? Izuku sniffed and mumbled his answer. Okay, all might. At least he didn't hate him, that was a relief. Still, Toshinori knew that he'd crushed Izuku's heart and felt more like a villain than a hero. Toshi, you aren't listening. Torino scowled at him and smacked the back of his head with the stack of papers he was holding. Toshi slid out of his reach. I'm sorry, I was just, go on, I'm listening now. We have no leads on All for One at the moment, he seems to have cut himself off. All we have is Izuku, and based on our encounter with Tomura the other day, he wants his son back. Sasaki reported. Personally, I don't like the idea of using Izuku as bait. Torino leaned back with a sigh. He's just a kid, but as long we keep him safe, that monster is bound to come looking for him. So for now, we just need to find a home for him where he can be protected and monitored, as well as someone who we can trust with the truth about his quirk so that he can start learning how to control it. That's a tall order. Sasaki pushed his glasses up his nose. It's going to take some time to find someone who fits that description and is also willing to take him in. About that, Toshinori hesitated, knowing that both of his friends would protest what he was about to say. If you're about to suggest that you take him in, you can forget it. Sasaki scowled. Honestly, Toshi, we shouldn't even have to tell you why that's a bad idea. Torino agreed. I know it's a bad idea. Toshinori agreed. Probably the worst one I've ever had, but I want to do it. It's got nothing to do with his father or his quirk, I just want to see him be happy. And he makes me happy. Izuku is a smart kid, and he really does have the makings of a great hero in him. You're not also thinking of passing one for all to him, are you? Torino asked. It may have crossed my mind. Toshi admitted. But I think Izuku can become a hero on his own, even without my quirk. He needs protection and training. Sasaki argued. He needs someone who loves him. Toshinori realized that he had shouted it by mistake and forced himself to sit back in his seat. I'm not allowed to have a family, I've known that from the beginning. After what happened with Nana, I wouldn't want to put any of my own children through something like that. But with Izuku, I don't know, I just feel like something could work out. You really like the kid, don't you? Torino gave a heavy sigh of defeat. It's more than that. I have to be the one to protect him. I want to be the one who tucks him into bed at night and asks him how his day was when he gets home from school and teaches him not to be afraid of the dark. If I'm not the one by his side while he grows up, I don't like that. Call it destiny or whatever, but we were meant to find each other. Toshi waited for more protests and arguments, but he didn't get any. At last, Sasaki stood. You're sure about this? I'm positive. This is what I want, as long as Izuku wants it too. Then I suppose you should go and ask him. Torino managed to get another solid hit onto Toshinori with his papers. Quit wasting our time with your reasons and just go already. Izuku was struggling to tie his shoelaces. No matter how many times he looped them around, he always ended up with his fingers tangled. Just as he was starting to get frustrated, All Might forward in front of him. Can I help you with that? He knelt in front of Izuku and waited for him to nod before he twisted the laces into a bow. We'll have to practice that, won't we? Izuku looked away, he was still pouting. Izuku, would you like to take a walk with me? Toshinori stood and offered him a hand. Izuku crossed his arms and made a show of turning his head away. HMPH. No way, Mr. Yagi is mean. About yesterday, I'm really sorry. Toshi winces as he smiled. Can I make it up to you? Izuku continued pouting, but seemed to be having a hard time staying angry. Only if All Might buys me ice cream. As the manager of All Might's personal life, I'm sure I can arrange something. Toshi winked and Izuku slowly relaxed. How about we go right now, just the two of us? Okay. Izuku took Toshinori's hand and followed him out the door to walk the hospital grounds. Toshi had to walk slowly so that Izuku's small legs could keep up. Izuku started rambling on about heroes and quirks, telling Toshinori all about their attacks and the strengths and weaknesses he'd observed. Toshi listened as best he could, but some of Izuku's ramblings were too quick to follow. Even though he didn't understand all of it, he still thought that the way Izuku went on was the cutest thing he'd ever seen. Oh, there's an ice cream cart over there. Toshi pointed as they rounded a corner. Should we go and get some now? Not you, I want All Might to buy it for me. Izuku made a grumpy face, puffing his round cheeks out. All Might with the cape and the hair and the boots. Toshinori laughed. Okay, but you need to keep it a secret, remember. I'll have to change into my hero costume. They stepped out of sight and Toshinori pulled off his jacket and suit, revealing his hero costume ready for action beneath. With a flourish, he swept his hair up and puffed out his muscles as much as he could, ending in a heroic pose. As soon as he did it, he felt ridiculous. He hoped that Izuku wouldn't laugh at him. He didn't need to worry. Izuku's eyes were brighter than snow on Christmas, his mouth hanging open wide. Wow! He gushed, trembling with excitement. Ha, this is nothing. All Might tried to boast, hoping to downplay Izuku's reaction. Still, he felt warm inside, the kind of warmth he hadn't felt since Nana was alive. Let's go, shall we? He scooped Izuku up in his arms, earning a squeal of delight, and launched the two of them into the sky. It was unnecessary and would probably earn him a scolding later, but he just wanted to find a way to impress Izuku even more. Showing off was normally just a part of the All Might routine, but he wanted to see that brilliant sparkle in Izuku's eyes again. They came down in front of the ice cream cart, startling the owner. All Might. Yes. All Might laughed loudly, his smile wider on his face than it normally was. I have come to buy ice cream. Ah, All Might, look at how many flavors there are. Izuku scrambled to get out of his arms, eyes shining once more. How do I choose which one? Just pick the one that looks the best, little Izuku. All Might advised. Izuku nervously hopped from one foot to another while he looked through the flavors. The idea of only choosing one seemed to be giving him a great deal of stress. Which one is your favorite? He asked All Might. All Might panicked. He rarely had time to enjoy treats, so he had always just enjoyed whichever flavor he happened to get. He'd never thought about picking out which one he liked the best. Say there, little fellow. The owner smiled down at him, leaning over the cart. Is All Might your friend? Yes. Izuku bounced a few times. He's my favorite. Hero. Your favorite hero. he repeated with a smile, glancing up at All Might. Then I think I can help you out. He reached down into the cart and pulled out an ice cream bar shaped like All Might's head. Izuku's eyes glowed. All Might, look. It's got your face. All Might and the owner laughed as Izuku accepted the ice cream. Thank you, Mr. You can call me Shimo. Thank you, Mr. Shimo. What kind are you getting, All Might? Oh, I don't think I should. All Might answered quickly. Then can we get one for Mr. Yagi? Izuku looked up at him with pleading eyes and All Might had to admit defeat. Sure, we can get one for him. He smiled. Why don't you pick it out? Izuku looked back to the ice cream man. Can we get another one just like this for Mr. Yagi? Then we can match. Sure thing, kiddo. Mr. Shimo started rummaging around inside the cart. How much do I owe you? All Might asked. You're kidding, right? He laughed and looked up at the hero. I'm not charging you, All Might. Please, I insist. All Might was used to getting handouts, but it never felt right to accept things from strangers. This is your business after all. Well, a few years back you saved my dear little niece from a villain attack. She's the reason I started selling ice cream in the first place. I can't ever repay you for that, but if this is all I can do, I'm glad I was able to help, but I don't expect any kind of payment for that. Well, you aren't the #1 hero for nothing, I suppose. I insist. All Might repeated. Let me just get my... He trailed off as he realized that he'd left his wallet in his breathes. Looks like you can't pay. Mr. Shimo smirked. Guess I'll just have to treat you then. Are you fighting? Izuku asked anxiously, drawing the men's attention away from each other. He was shaking and looked worried. Did we do something wrong? I haven't liked it yet, you can have it back. All Might felt a sharp pain in his chest. How could anyone be so sweet and sincere? We're not fighting. Mr. Shimo answered before All Might could. All Might is just too nice for me to give a gift to, so I guess I'll give it to you instead. The ice cream is free. Did you hear that, All Might? Izuku quickly shook away his fearful expression, now looking both relieved and excited. We don't have to pay for it. That's great, Izuku. All Might smiled at him, ignoring the smug expression on Mr. Shimo's face. Now we had better go and find Mr. Yagi before his ice cream melts. You may want to hurry. Mr. Shimo nodded behind them. Looks like the press found out you're here. Oh no. All Might looked back and saw that a crowd of reporters were gathering, getting ready to charge him down. He couldn't risk allowing Izuku's face to be exposed by any of the cameras. All for One would be searching everywhere for him and any type of press would lead him right to the boy. It appears that I need to make a fast exit. Izuku, don't move until Mr. Yagi gets here. Okay. Izuku nodded. All Might ruffled his hair and then took off into the sky again, drawing the press away from the ice cream cart. By the time he returned as Toshinori, out of breath from running back, Izuku was halfway through his ice cream and chatting excitedly with Mr. Shimo about his quirk. Can you make ice cubes? How much water can you freeze at once? I told you, I can only make a thin coat of frost. Mr. Shimo replied. He seemed amused with the conversation, unable to resist Izuku's charm. It's not very useful. It is if you want to keep ice cream cold. Izuku took another like. Once I learn how to use my quirk, I'm going to be a hero just like All Might. I suppose all quirks are made for the same purpose. Mr. Shimo looked up as Toshinori joined them. Are you Mr. Yagi? Yes, that's me. Toshi nodded. Izuku, where did All Might go? He had to run away from all the cameras. Izuku answered. But look, we got ice cream for you. And it was a present from Mr. Shimo, so we didn't have to pay for it. That was very nice of Mr. Shimo. Did you tell him thank you? Oh. Thank you, Mr. Shimo. Izuku was still bouncing with excitement, and in doing so knocked the last of his ice cream off the stick and onto the ground. Oh no! Izuku's eyes immediately filled with tears. Don't cry, Izuku. Toshi started towards him, but Mr. Shimo was already kneeling in front of Izuku. Mr. 𝐤𝐸𝐽 lifted his hand and large snowflakes began to form beneath it, drifting down and sparkling in the sun as they melted away. 𝐒𝐿 stopped crying, green eyes sparkling again. Wow! Did you know that all quirks have the same purpose? Quirks should be used to make other people smile. Here, this is for you. Mr. 𝐤𝐸𝐽 produced a new ice cream from behind his back. 𝐒𝐿 hesitated. But I don't have any money. Then you can come and pay me back after you become a great hero. How does that sound? Instead of reaching for the ice cream, 𝐒𝐿 threw his arms around Mr. 𝐤𝐸𝐽's neck and gave him a tight hug. Thank you. Toshinori felt a small pang of jealousy, but he was glad that things had worked out. 𝐒𝐿 was happy again. With his new ice cream already starting to melt in the summer sun, 𝐒𝐿 waved goodbye to Mr. 𝐤𝐸𝐽 and then took Toshi's hand as they walked away. Seeing his face only solidified what Toshinori had been feeling the last few days, that he had to find a way to protect 𝐒𝐿's smile forever. 𝐒𝐿 sat on the bench next to Toshi, swinging his legs as he enjoyed his ice cream. You're dripping. Toshi pointed out and 𝐒𝐿 squeaked, quickly liking the stick in his fingers. When he was finished at last, Toshi took the stick away and helped 𝐒𝐿 wipe down his sticky fingers. 𝐒𝐿, there's something I've been meaning to ask you. He hoped that he didn't sound too nervous. His heart was racing, threatening to burst out of his chest at any second. The other day, when you asked me if you could come and live with you I don't want to. 𝐒𝐿 interrupted loudly and Toshi felt his racing heart come to a crashing stop. Since you don't want me. I never said that I didn't want you. It's just that, I'm a hero so I'm in danger all the time. If I had a family and any villains found out about it, they might try to hurt you too. This was getting him nowhere. In fact, it was getting him further from what he wanted. I still think it's dangerous, but after what I said to you then, I've just felt awful ever since. I haven't been able to sleep or eat and I figured out that the reason why is because I was wrong. What I'm trying to say is what I want to ask 𝐒𝐿, do you want He couldn't say it, he was so nervous. What if 𝐒𝐿 really had changed his mind? But 𝐒𝐿 was watching him closely, leaning in and holding his breath. He couldn't look at him. With a sigh, Toshi managed to string the words together in his mind and get them out of his mouth. Will you come and live with me? I want to adopt you. When 𝐒𝐿 didn't reply, he turned to look at him at last. He was crying, lips trembling and fat tears running down both of his cheeks. His heart sank. He tried to laugh it off, hoping that the pain in his chest would go away quickly before 𝐒� could see it. You don't have to, if you want to say no then no. 𝐒𝐿 shouted, shaking his head. I want to. I want to, I want to, I want to, I want to, I want to. His voice faded off into sobs that shook his entire body. Toshinori had never felt so relieved. What are you crying for? I'm so happy. 𝐒� wailed, reaching out to him. Toshi pulled 𝐒� onto his lap and buried his face into his green curls, squeezing him so that 𝐒� wouldn't be able to see the tears in his own eyes. Me too, 𝐒�, me too. The warmth from earlier was back, stronger this time and filling his entire body. He felt happy, complete, and perfectly content. As long as he had 𝐒�, nothing could go wrong. All for one needed something, or someone, to take his anger out on. That was hard, considering that he was also trying to lay low for the time being. Still, ever since Tomura had returned empty-handed, his blood had been boiling in his veins. Finally, he was able to let off some of that steam. All Might had vanished from the press since the attack, no doubt while trying to keep 𝐒� hidden. But fortune had finally turned his way when a small flutter on social media reported All Might buying ice cream near the hospital. There was only one picture, taken from far away and blurry, but he would know his son's green curls anywhere. Now that he knew where 𝐒� had been, it would be easy to track him down. Are you finished yet? Tomura whined and all for one entertained the idea of killing him for a moment. He knew that he would regret it if he did, but it would be satisfying in the moment. Don't forget that all of this is your fault. He turned on his student, scowling. If you hadn't left 𝐒� behind and then failed to get him back, I wouldn't have to worry about him. It wasn't my fault. Tomura complained. All Might was there. You weren't supposed to be fighting All Might, you were supposed to be rescuing Izuku. All you had to do was grab him and use him as a hostage. The heroes wouldn't have dared to come after you. But you just wanted to fight. I thought I made my instructions clear to you a year ago. When I say that I want to see my son, then you bring him to me. No matter what. We'll get him back. Tomura didn't seem to mind the lecture. You always get what you want. Now are you going to kill this guy or what? All for One turned to look down at their prisoner. Mr. Shimo, wasn't it? Mr. Shimo was bruised and bleeding, weak from torture and interrogation. All for One already had everything he needed from the man, which wasn't much since he was weak and worthless. He grabbed a fistful of the man's hair, enjoying the way he grunted in pain through his gagged mouth. So All Might thinks he can win my Izuku over with treats, does he? As if I haven't tried that before. I should punish you for assisting in the kidnapping and attempted brainwashing of my son, but it sounds as though you made my little boy happy, even if it didn't last. For that, I think I'll settle for taking your quirk instead of your life. Aren't you a lucky one? Mr. Shimo jerked and let out a muffled scream, eyes wide with pain. At last, he slumped to the ground as All for One released him. A frost-generating quirk, rather weak on its own, but he had just the Nomyu in mind that could use it. Izuku would be home and safe again before he knew it. There's been something different about Mr. Yagi recently, hasn't there? Reddy, one of front desk workers at Might Tower, mused as she watched him greet some of the other co-workers across the lobby. He seems much happier than he was before. Her co-worker, Misha, glanced up as well. You think maybe he found a partner? Maybe something like that. I think his leaving early today, that isn't like him. Maybe he has a date. You're right, normally he's working overtime. Misha agreed. And now that you mention it, he's been gone a lot lately. Let's ask him on his way out. Just then, Mr. Yagi paused by the desk on his way to the door. If anyone asks for me, could you tell them I've gone for the day? Sure, Mr. Yagi. Reddy smiled. You're leaving so early today. Where are you headed? Misha gave him a sly smile and raised a brow. Are you meeting with someone important? Yes, someone very important. Mr. Yagi beamed. Both girls leaned forward, eyes gleaming with excitement and lust for the latest office gossip. Despite being young, single, and attractive, Mr. Yagi had never been caught in any office scandals. In fact, he'd never expressed any interest in dating. How did you meet? I saved them from a villain. He fished his phone out of his pocket and winced at the time. I'm going to be late. Sorry, I've got to get going. At least tell us a name before you go. Reddy and Misha begged. His name is Izuku. Last name. They called after him as he pushed the doors open. After today, it will be Yagi. He grinned and then hurried off, leaving both secretaries flustered. Is he? Misha began. Shush, Reddy slapped her arm, giddy with excitement. I can't believe it. Let's ask for pictures when he gets back. Mr. Night-Eye, Mr. Night-Eye. Izuku ran over to Sasaki and grabbed his hand. Guess what, guess what, guess what? What is it? I have a new name now. Izuku showed him his freshly printed BRTH certificate. Yes, I know. Sasaki nodded. And now Mr. Yagi and I are going to live together. He's going to be my dad. That's great, Izuku. Congratulations. Sasaki glanced up at Toshinori, who gave him a sympathetic smile. Should we get going? Toshi called Izuku back to him. We'll be late for our dinner reservations. Izuku ran back to him and Toshi picked him up. Is Grandpa Torino going to be there? Yes, but don't let him hear you call him that. Toshi laughed. Stop wiggling so much, you're getting your suit all wrinkled. Izuku wrapped his arms around Toshi's neck and giggles. But you said I never have to wear it again after this. That's right, after today I won't ever make you wear it again. But today isn't over yet. They started walking to the car. What about when I grow up? Will I have to wear one when I'm a hero? Maybe sometimes. Mr. Night-Eye, you wear one every day as your hero costume. Izuku said. I wrote about it in my hero book. When I become a hero, my costume is going to be super cool too. I'm sure you will. Oh. Izuku turned in Toshinori's arms to face Sasaki and waved him over. He leaned over, cupped his hand around the hero's ear, whispering something that Toshi couldn't hear. Sasaki sighed and pulled out his phone. All right. What is it? Toshi asked, pausing as Sasaki stepped out in front of them. Smile. Izuku grabbed Toshi's neck again and squished their faces together. What are you dash? Toshi began, looking over just as Sasaki snapped a picture on his phone. Let me see, let me see. Izuku squirmed and reached for Sasaki's phone. Careful, Izuku. Toshi had to take several quick steps from losing his balance. Izuku's bright eyes glowed when Sasaki showed him the screen. All Might, look. It's our first family picture. Toshi thought that he'd been around Izuku enough to stop getting the sudden pains in his heart whenever he did something like this, but he'd been wrong. A hot knife plunged into his chest at Izuku's words, accompanied by the picture of the two of them on Sasaki's phone. His eyes stung slightly and he hugged Izuku tightly, startling the boy. Let's take lots of pictures together, okay? Izuku nodded eagerly. Really? Can we take some with Grandpa Torino and Uncle Night Eye? Uncle? Sasaki repeated, raising an eyebrow. Izuku grinned at him. You're my family too now, aren't you? It was subtle, but Toshinori could make out a faint blush cross his sidekick's cheeks as he turned away. Please don't call me by my hero name when I'm not on duty. Uncle Sasaki will be fine. Toshinori followed him, Izuku still in his arms. He was proud of Izuku. It wasn't easy to win over Sasaki, especially after he'd shown so much resistance at first to the adoption. But knowing Night Eye, he was always overly cautious and tended to take the oppressive viewpoint in arguments in order to help the other heroes solidify their actions. Whatever his reservations were, Toshi was sure that Sasaki would tell him soon enough. For now, at least, he seemed to be accepting Izuku into his life, and that was all that mattered. Toshinori did his best to open his door and maneuver inside, his arms full with his briefcase, jacket, and leftovers from dinner, and not wake Izuku up in the process. Keeping Izuku in his arms, he awkwardly stepped out of his shoes and set the briefcase and jacket down. With his hands free, he was able to tug off Izuku's shoes as well and set them beside his own in the entryway. After dropping the leftovers off in the fridge, he moved down the hallway in the dark to what had previously been the spare room. The adoption had been rushed, so he hadn't been able to convert it fully into Izuku's room like he'd wanted to before he moved in. There were still a few boxes in the corner and some of the furniture he'd ordered hadn't arrived yet. But for now the bed was there and that was all that mattered. Izuku woke as he was setting him on the bed, rubbing his eyes and squinting in the dark. All Might. Where are we? We're home. Toshi answered as he helped Izuku's arms out of his suit coat. We stayed out too late, so now it's time for you to go to bed. Izuku nodded, still mostly asleep. He was exhausted after a long day. The adoption had taken up most of the morning and afternoon, then dinner and the small celebration that they had done after. Izuku had been so excited and burned out all of his energy. Even as he was struggling to put his pajamas on with Toshi's help, he was swaying, about to fall asleep again. I didn't say goodbye to Uncle Sasaki or Grandpa Torino. You'll see them again soon. Toshi promised, lifting Izuku to pull down the covers on the bed. I wanted to say goodbye. Izuku mumbled, rubbing his head against Toshi's shoulder. He was clingy when he was tired, Toshi had noticed, a bit different from the way he would hesitate during the day. Sure, Toshi set Izuku in bed and pulled the covers up. It's time for you to go to sleep. It's too dark. Izuku shook his head, hanging on to Toshi's arms as he tried to stand up. I'll turn on the hallway light. Toshi clicked the light on and made a mental note to get a night light. There, is that better? Izuku pulled the covers up to his nose and nodded. Do you need anything else? I can get you water or... Izuku looked away and squirmed for a moment. Will you hold my hand until I fall asleep? He was just too cute. Toshi sat on the floor next to the head of the bed and gave Izuku his hand. Izuku's small fingers were cold. He pulled Toshi's hand under the covers and held it close to his chest. Now go to sleep. Toshi said softly. Izuku seemed a bit more awake now, even though his eyes were still droopy. As always, he was full of questions. What do I call you now, Mr. Yagi? You can call me whatever you like. Toshi used his free hand to softly slide Izuku's curls out of his face, hoping that it would help him fall back asleep. Then can I call you Didi? Izuku bit his lip and pulled the covers up higher to hide under. You don't have to force yourself. Toshi pulled them back and rested his head on the mattress next to Izuku's. Mr. Yagi or All Might is fine for now. I really get to stay with you here. Forever. That's right. Toshi decided that he should stop answering Izuku's questions, otherwise they would be up all night. Instead, he hummed softly and massaged Izuku's scalp with his fingers, watching as Izuku's eyes grew heavier and heavier until he was asleep at last. Izuku's tight grip on Toshi's hand slipped away. He knew that he should go to his own bed, but he didn't move. Watching Izuku's sleeping face, here in the comfort of his own apartment, the fear was starting to sink in. What if All for One tracked them here and attacked the building? Who knew what kind of nomus he had at his disposal still to send after them? Even without any of the villain stuff to worry about, the realization that he now had a child to look after was creeping in on his nerves. What if Izuku changed his mind after living with him for a few days when he found out that he was in no way prepared to look after anyone besides himself? What would he do if Izuku got sick or hurt? How would he keep up with both his hero work and making sure Izuku was taken care of? There were hundreds of things he didn't know about kids. Over dinner, Sasaki had brought to his attention an entire list of issues he hadn't even considered. Getting Izuku caught up on his education so that he could go back to school, ensuring that he was taken to counseling to help with his trauma and anxiety, not to mention making sure that his relationship to both All for One and All Might remained a secret. What had happened in his mind that had made him think he could handle the responsibilities of being the #1 hero as well as a single father? Izuku's face twisted in his sleep and he started squirming, curling in on himself and squeezing Toshi's hand. He was having a bad dream already. Seeing his face half lit by the hallway light, Toshi let out a deep breath and released his worries with it. He'd done it for Izuku. To make him happy, to keep him safe. No matter what, he would find a way. Sure, Toshi said softly again, starting to slide Izuku's hair again until he settled down. It's okay, Aizu, I'm here. I promise you, I'm never going to let that man hurt you again. You're safe now, you're with me. I'll always protect you. Izuku woke after the sun had peaked the horizon. He rolled over in bed and stared up at the ceiling. He didn't like waking up. He would rather stay asleep and have happy dreams about All Might and heroes and not being locked up inside all of the time. He'd been having a really good dream too, one where All Might was tucking him into bed instead of his father. He'd liked that dream and decided that he wanted to have it again. With his mind made up, he rolled over to the cold side of his pillow and realized that he must still be asleep. Mr. Yagi was resting his arms and head on the mattress, sound asleep. Izuku held his breath and scooched closer to him. That's right, it wasn't a dream. This was his home now, and All Might was going to be his family. A warm, fuzzy feeling crawled up Izuku's chest and he smiled, pulling the blankets tight around his shoulders. Hearing him move around, Mr. Yagi groaned and lifted his head. Aizu? He asked sleepily, rubbing his head. Good morning. Izuku shied back, pulling the covers up to his nose. Mr. Yagi sat up and winced. Oh, this floor is too hard to sit on all night. He stretched his long arms high over his head, then looked down at Izuku again. Did you sleep okay? Izuku nodded and Mr. Yagi smiled. That's good. How about some breakfast then? We can have anything you like. Didn't you have to go to work? It wasn't easy, but I managed to get today off so I can help you adjust to your new house. Mr. Yagi stood and rubbed his backside, still groaning a little. Were you with me all night? Izuku asked, feeling embarrassed. I guess I just fell asleep. Mr. Yagi scratched the back of his head, also embarrassed to admit it. But it's fine, just a little stiff is all. Nothing a yummy breakfast won't fix. Come on now, time to get up. Is this my room, then? Izuku looked around as he sat up. It felt much more grown-up than the room that his father had made for him. There was a desk and chair, a tall dresser, a bedside table with a lamp, and a bookshelf with several boxes piled next to it. "Yep, all yours." Mr. Yagi stepped into the hall and turned off the light that had been left on that night. "I was going to decorate it for you with some of my All Might merch, but it felt a little weird hanging up pictures of my face, so I decided that you can choose the decorations yourself and I'll help you put them up. I hope that's okay. Did you get these pajamas for me too?" Izuku looked down at the soft pajamas he was wearing, patterned with All Might's logo. "We can take them back if you don't like them." "I do." Izuku looked up quickly. "But, you don't have to get me so many things." "What are you talking about? Of course I want to get you everything you need, that's my job, you know. I got a few outfits for you too, but I figured you'd want to pick out the rest yourself. How about we go shopping today after breakfast?" "Okay." Izuku nodded and climbed out of bed. He followed him down the hallway, peering around curiously. Across from his own room, the bathroom door was slightly ajar. Next to that, at the end of the hallway, there was a closed door. Izuku guessed that was Mr. Yagi's room and wondered what it looked like inside. At the other end of the short hallway, another set of doors sat opposite each other. Mr. Yagi turned into the door on the left to the kitchen, but Izuku paused to look into the other room. It was a humble living room with a television, a small couch and chair, and a coffee table. The room felt homey and comforting and reminded him of when he lived with his mother. "Come sit at the table," Mr. Yagi called from behind him, making him jump. The kitchen was just as normal as the rest of the house. Izuku climbed into one of the chairs and swung his feet while Mr. Yagi dug around in the refrigerator. "I thought you lived at Mike Tower. Are you disappointed? I know it's not very exciting, but most heroes are just regular people with normal houses." Mr. Yagi glanced up at him. "I like it," Izuku assured him, resting his chin and arms on the table. "I guess I just thought that you would be All Might more than you are, Mr. Yagi." "I'm still All Might," Mr. Yagi reminded him. "What would you like to eat? I have bread, cereal, rice, eggs. I learned how to make pancakes when I lived in America, so I can make you some if you want. What about waffles?" "Those are just pancakes made in funny shapes. I think I have a waffle iron somewhere." Izuku watched All Might rummage around the kitchen until he finally pulled out an All Might waffle iron from the depths of the cupboards. "Here it is. They give me all kinds of my merchandise to try out, but I usually forget about them. You really know how to make them." Izuku smiled and leaned forward in his seat. "Mommy always promised me that she would take me to get waffles, but we never had time, and now..." Mr. Yagi set down the waffle iron on the table and put his arm around Izuku's shoulder. "I know you miss her, kiddo. It's okay, I understand. I don't want to cry anymore." Izuku stuttered, trying his best not to. "I'm supposed to be happy now." "Don't force yourself to be happy if you're feeling sad. You can cry all you want, I promise I won't ever mind. Just tell me when you're sad so I can be there for you." Mr. Yagi rubbed his back. "You had a great mommy, didn't you? She took care of me all by herself." Izuku wiped his tears away. "And she always played with me and made dinner and kept the house clean. I miss her. Everyone misses their mommy after they are gone. Even you. Even me." Mr. Yagi did look very sad when he said it. "I know. How about we go and visit your mommy's grave? We can bring her flowers. Do you think she'd like that?" Izuku perked up. "Really? Daddy never let me. What about your mommy? Are we going to visit her too?" "I don't think we have time to do both today." Mr. Yagi patted Izuku's back before moving back to the fridge to start making breakfast. "I want to do both," Izuku insisted. "On the same day. How about my next day off then?" "Okay. Do you want to help me make the waffles?" "Yes." Izuku jumped off his chair and ran over. Mr. Yagi handed him the bowls and spoons they needed and started giving him instructions. As he mixed in the ingredients, he forgot all about his father and the villains that were after him. Right now, it was just him and All Might, and he was happy. "I brushed my teeth and I took a bath and I put my dirty clothes where you showed me," Izuku said proudly, running over to Toshinori as he finished fitting the new sheets and bedspread on Izuku's bed. Like everything else Izuku had picked out while they were shopping, they were All Might themed. Good job. Toshi smiled at him. Ready for bed. Izuku crawled onto the bed and slid down under the covers. Do you want me to read you a story? No, it's okay. Izuku snuggled into the mattress until his covers were up to his chin. Okay then. Toshi made sure the All Might nightlight was on before he turned off the overhead lights. He came and sat next to Izuku's bed again like he had the night before. Do you need me to hold your hand again? That's okay. Izuku squeaked and Toshi frowned. Izuku, is everything all right? You've been acting strange all day. No, I haven't. You keep pulling away from me. Am I doing something wrong? No. Izuku sat up quickly. His freckled cheeks turned red in the dark and he turned away, mumbling. But if I hang on to you too much, you'll want me to go away, won't you? Toshi blinked, speechless. I would never want something like that. Yes, you will. Daddy did it all the time. When he wanted to see me, he would give me lots of loves, but if I asked him too many times to tuck me in or play with me, he would send me away and make Tomura or Kurogiri do it instead. I don't want you to get bored with me too, so I won't bother you too much, I promise. Izu, you could never bother me like that. Toshi felt a flash of anger. No wonder Izuku was always so frightened. It wasn't just that he'd seen his father's acts of violence, but he'd been treated more like a pet than a child. All for one only called for his son when he wanted to see him, and when he was finished he would send the boy away, no matter how much more attention Izuku needed. It made so much more sense now. Izuku was desperate for someone to love him, but after being pushed away time and time again, he thought that the only way to get that was to hold back his own emotions and instead focus on pleasing his father. I would never, ever get bored of being with you. Toshi went on firmly, hoping Izuku could hear the deep sincerity in his voice. I wanted you to come and live with me because I wanted to take care of you. So whatever you need, no matter what or when or how, I'm going to make sure I'm there for you. You promise? I promise, I'll find a way. I'm going to need your help though. I know that your mommy was able to take good care of you by herself, better than I probably ever will, so if I'm doing something wrong, or if there's something you need that I'm not getting you, will you tell me? I know how to be a hero, but I've never been a dad before. I'm doing my best and I'll keep doing my best, as long as you're here to help me. Izuku nodded and leaned over to hug him. I'm still scared. I don't want to be, I want to believe you. That's okay, Aizu. Toshi hugged him back and kissed the side of his head. You're going to be scared sometimes and it won't be easy for you to grow up without looking over your shoulder. But I'm going to help you and you can call me whenever you need me, even if I'm at work. I'll work hard so that you can trust me the same way you trust All Might. But you are All Might. You're right. Toshi gave him a squeeze. But what I really want is to be your dad. Izuku squoze him back. Me too. Excuse me. Reddy had to look around several times before she thought to look down. Hi there, sweetie. Can I help you? She smiled at the freckled boy, wearing an All Might jacket and backpack, who was standing on tiptoe to see over the high desk. Is Mr. Yagi here? He asked. Let me check for you, okay? She looked back to her computer and shifted through the schedules until she found it. Mr. Yagi is in an important meeting with All Might right now. I can wait. He said. We can tell him that you're here to see him. Misha smiled. What's your name? Izuku Yagi. Reddy and Misha both paused, glancing over at each other. Really? Is Mr. Yagi in your family? As an answer to their question, Mr. Yagi suddenly appeared in the lobby, stepping out of the elevator with Night Eye. Izuku ran straight into his arms and Mr. Yagi picked him up, smiling. Mr. Yagi, Uncle Sasaki. Aizu, you're just in time. Mr. Yagi gave him a kiss on the cheek and Izuku returned it. Mr. Yagi, you didn't tell us you had any family. Misha raised a sly brow, giving Reddy a nudge. Oh. Mr. Yagi stopped at the desk. Aizu, these are All Might secretaries, Reddy and Misha. Hi. Izuku waved, making both ladies' hearts melt. And this is Izuku. I adopted him a few weeks ago. Why didn't you tell us? Reddy and Misha both squealed. We would have got a welcome present for you. Well, we're trying to keep it quiet. Toshi scratched the back of his head and gave an awkward laugh. Oh, of course. Reddy nodded, remembering that Mr. Yagi had mentioned rescuing Izuku from villains. There must have been more to the story, something tragic and heart-wrenching. We're going to the park today. Izuku told them. Uncle Sasaki, are you coming too? I'm going on patrol, I was just walking Mr. Yagi out. Sir. Night Eye answered. You're no fun. Izuku pouted. Didn't Uncle Sasaki take you to the arcade just last week? Mr. Yagi teased him, giving Izuku a small tickle. Yeah, and he cheated. Izuku squirmed away. How can I beat someone who can see the future? Next time you'll just have to make sure he doesn't use his quirk on you. Misha told him. Sir. Night Eye has always been a sore loser. I should be going. Night Eye quickly excused himself, escaping before more of his secrets could be exposed. Us too, Aizu. Mr. Yagi gave him another kiss. Bye Reddy, bye Misha. Izuku waved at them. Come visit us again soon. They waved back, waiting until the group had left before grabbing onto each other and letting out another squeal of delight. Oh, he was so cute. No wonder Mr. Yagi has been walking on clouds these last few weeks. Did you see the way they looked at each other? What a happy family. Oh, I wish I could have a perfect angel like that walk into my life. Let's stock up on treats that we can give him the next time he visits. How is school going? Toshi asked Izuku, holding his hand as they walked to the park together. I know it's only been a few days, but are you fitting in? Are you making friends? Yeah. Izuku was skipping beside him. Everyone has super cool quirks. Especially this one kid, Kaken. He can make his sweat explode in his hands. That is pretty impressive. Toshi smiled. And he wants to be a hero, just like me. You're his favorite too. It sounds like you two will get along. Well, maybe. Izuku frowned. He makes fun of me for not having a quirk. I know that I have a secret one, but it still isn't very nice. What if I really was quirkless? It would make me sad if he said those things to me. What kind of things does he say to you? Toshi frowned, feeling defensive and protective. He says that I'm useless. He calls me Deku. Izuku pulled Toshi across the sidewalk so that he could jump over a small puddle. And he calls everyone else in the class extras. Maybe you should find some different kids to be friends with. But I want Kaken to be my friend. Izuku insisted. He's so strong, just like you. Then, when we grow up and become heroes, we can still be friends. Wouldn't that be fun? I guess so. Toshi paused for Izuku to jump over another puddle. What should we have for dinner tonight? I want curry. Again. It isn't very healthy to eat the same thing over and over again. Then. Katsudon. It's my favorite. I know, we have that all the time too. Toshi sighed. Okay then, you pick. Izuku jumped another puddle and nearly lost his balance. I like all of your cooking. Their lives had settled into this peaceful routine. Izuku was still cautious whenever he needed to ask for something, but Toshi could see that he was starting to slowly relax. At first it had been difficult to allow Izuku out of his sight, especially when he started up school again. Izuku was still behind, but luckily Tsukochi's sister was still able to take the train up from college on the weekends to tutor him. Taking time off his hero work was difficult, but Sasaki always seemed to be willing to step up and cover for him when he needed to rush home. Toshi was glad that Sasaki had talked him into getting a phone for Izuku. He felt much less stressed now that he was able to track his location and get in touch with him at any time. Izuku called him a lot when he wasn't home, sometimes just to talk or tell him about a new hero discovery, but mostly when he was having a breakdown before bed or after watching something on TV that had reminded him of his father. The counseling had been helping, but there was no way to simply erase the fear and distrust that the boy had burned into his body and memory over the last year. For now, it was probably better that Izuku remained paranoid. Toshi felt the same. Each time Izuku called crying, he feared the worst. All for One had vanished, destroying any leads and fading completely into the shadows. Toshi would have liked it better if he could have assumed that All for One didn't care about Izuku at all and had forgotten about him, but that wasn't the case. Based on the stories that Izuku had whispered to him late at night and the fact that he'd sent his own student after them, All for One did care about his son. Or, at least, he cared to have Izuku with him, locked up safe from the world. He cared enough to buy him toys and stop by to see him now and again. He cared just enough to keep Toshi up at night, listening for any sound of intruder. Enough that he worried every waking moment that he would come home and find the house empty. Just enough. "Are you listening?" Izuku asked, and Toshi realized that he was in the middle of a story about the newest debuting heroes and the quirk analysis that Izuku had made for them. "I'm listening," Toshi said, though he wasn't paying attention. Instead, he was scanning the streets for any sign of trouble. His hero instincts had combined with his newfound fatherly instincts to form a monster that was always looking, always waiting, always searching for anything that might threaten his little boy. Eventually they reached the park and Izuku ran off to play while Toshi watched him from the sidelines. Izuku was much friendlier with children his age than he was with adults. Toshi had been worried about him fitting in, since they had decided for his safety that he would continue being registered as quirkless. But Izuku's irresistible charm paired with his exclusive All Might merchandise always fit him right in with the other children. Toshi thought back on their conversation about making friends in school. He was worried about Izuku and this boy in his class. Should he call the teacher? The boy's parents? Was he being too overbearing? Maybe he should trust Izuku a bit more. If anything were wrong, he would tell him. Izuku was getting better at that, and Toshi was getting better at sensing when he was needing something as well. Every so often, Izuku would stop playing and look around to make sure that Toshi was still watching him, or he'd run over to him to tell him about the game they were playing or one of the quirks he'd learned about. Everything seemed so normal, Izuku being just like any other child running around on the playground. If only it could be that easy. Toshi smiled as he listened to Izuku's sleepy ramblings as he tried to coax him to sleep. "Did you have fun at the park today?" He cut him off at last. Izuku nodded and rubbed his eyes. "Can I go back again soon?" "Not by yourself, you know that. What if Makoto and Naomasa take me this weekend?" Toshi hesitated. "Only if that's okay with both of them." He wanted to say no, but he couldn't keep Izuku locked up just because he was afraid of what might happen to him. The park was right next to Might Tower and he would be sure to stay in the area in case anything did happen. It would be fine. "You can say no," Izuku told him. "If you tell me no, I won't go. I trust you." "Thank you, Izuku, but it's okay. You can go to the park if you want to, as long as either Makoto and Naomasa can go with you." "Are you sure it's okay? I don't want to make you worry." "Worrying is my job." Toshi bent over and kissed Izuku's forehead. "I love you." Izuku had started crying the first time that Toshi had told him that he loved him. It had taken Toshi almost a full week to build up the courage to say it, and once he saw Izuku's reaction, he wished that he'd said it much sooner. Izuku, for his part, hadn't been able to say it back. Toshi knew that it would be hard for him after everything he'd been through, and he didn't expect Izuku to break through that anxiety anytime soon. He would usually just reply with a shy "me too." Toshi didn't mind. Someday Izuku would be ready, so until then he would continue loving him and telling him that he loved him. Izuku raised his tired arms to hug him around the neck like he always did, but this time he managed to take Toshi by surprise with his reply, "I love you too," and immediately fell asleep. "Izuku, don't go too far," Makoto called after him as Izuku raced off ahead of her. "I won't," he called over his shoulder. She sighed and took a seat on one of the benches, pulling out her homework and making sure to keep a close eye on Izuku as he ran off into the playground. She knew that he was well behaved and would let her know if he was going anywhere. All she had to do now was keep an eye out for bullies and, of course, villains who may be trying to kidnap him. Easy. Izuku was excited that Mr. Yagi had decided to let him go to the park without any heroes to watch over him. He knew that it was dangerous, but he still hated being inside for too long. He liked being outside and getting to see other people and their quirks. He quickly lost track of time making new friends and playing heroes, stopping by frequently to check in on Makoto and make sure she wasn't stressing over her homework. As usual, the kids on the playground were playing heroes and villains. This time, it was Izuku's turn to be the villain and be chased by the heroes. Without realizing it, he had run to the far side of the park, much too far away from Makoto for him to feel safe. Panicking, Izuku scanned the benches until he found her frowning over her textbook. With a sigh of relief, he started back to her, but was stopped when he heard a voice about his age. "No. Let me go. I don't want to go with you." Izuku paused and looked around, searching for the source. Was it one of the other villains in the game? If the heroes had caught them, then he should go and help. Following the voice, Izuku found himself by the picnic tables under the trees. There was no one there, but before he left, he heard them again. "Let me go. Someone help me, please." Izuku turned, feeling like everything was in slow motion. This wasn't a game. He could see the large men, face covered in medical masks and sunglasses, trying to force a boy with red and white hair in the back of a blue car. The boy was fighting back and he was also partly on fire. Before Izuku could process the thought that he should run away from any villain he saw, just like All Might had taught him, he was racing to help. "Hey, let him go!" Izuku shouted, grabbing hold of one of the man's arms and trying to pull it away. They were strong, not as strong as All Might, but much stronger than Izuku. "What the?" They looked down and pushed him back. "Scram, kid, unless you want us to take you too." Gritting his teeth, Izuku scrambled back to his feet and grabbed the arm again, sinking his teeth in. "Oh!" The man grabbed Izuku's hair and yanked him away. "What's with this brat?" Izuku screamed as loud as he could, hoping that any heroes nearby would hear him or anyone. "What's going on back there?" The villain in the driver's seat shouted. "We've got the kid, let's get out of here." "Just a little issue." He tried to shake Izuku off, but Izuku wouldn't let go. People were starting to notice, if he could only keep their here a minute longer, fine. Looks like Shoto gets a friend. "No." Izuku kicked back, but he was easily picked up and shoved into the backseat with the other boy. The man got in the backseat with them and closed the door, the car immediately taking off. "Let us go," Izuku shouted, scanning quickly for an escape route. The doors were locked and there were 3 men in the car, 2 up front and 1 in the back, all wearing breathing masks. "Don't forget to hold your breath this time," the driver said, reaching his hand to the backseat and releasing a thick gas from his palm. Too late, Izuku tried to cover his mouth and nose. The heavy gas reached him faster and he quickly started choking and coughing. Within moments, the view of the backseat faded to black and Izuku felt that, for the first time, he was going to be in lots of trouble with Mr. Yagi. Izuku's head hurt when he woke up. He pushed himself up and saw that he was lying partly on top of the boy he'd seen getting kidnapped earlier. Except now they'd both been kidnapped. The other boy was still asleep. He had a large bruise on his neck, arms, and a large cut on his lip. Izuku also noticed that he had a large scar covering his left eye, the side where his hair was red instead of white. Looking down at himself, Izuku saw that he had several hand-shaped bruises on his arms as well from where he'd been grabbed and thrown into the back of the car. He also had a small tear in his breaths and his phone was missing from his pocket. The villains must have found it and taken it away. With his headache starting to fade, Izuku looked around the room. It was small, made with cement walls, ceilings, and floors. Other than an old blanket and a few empty cans, the room was empty. There was a boarded-up window high out of reach, but no light was shining through, means that the sun had already set. There was a small sliver of light shining through the crack under the only door into the room. Izuku snuck over to the door and placed his ear against it, hearing distant, muffled voices beyond. "Some other kid. Endeavor, get us in trouble." Izuku could only make out a few of the words they were saying. Despite the situation, Izuku felt a small sting of relief. They hadn't been after him at all, they weren't trying to take him back to his father. They were after the other boy. Thinking back, he remembered that they had been wearing thick gloves to protect themselves from his flames. It was a targeted attack. Behind him, Izuku heard the other boy starting to wake up as well. He left the door and walked back to him. "Are you okay?" What happened? He asked, rubbing his head and looking around. They brought us here together, but I don't know where here is. I think they were only trying to get you too, but I got in the way. You're not hurt, are you? Izuku offered him a hand to help him up. Who are you? He asked instead of accepting the hand. I'm Izuku. What's your name? Shoto. How long have we been down here? Well, I just woke up too. Izuku admitted, awkwardly taking his hand back when Shoto ignored it. Why would these men want to take you away? They are villains, do they need a reason? Shoto got shakily to his feet and looked around. Well, usually they have one. Izuku had always assumed that his father had a reason for doing what he did. Some grown-up reason that he didn't understand that would justify the way he hurt people. They probably want revenge or something stupid like that. Shoto was trying to act like he didn't care, but Izuku could hear the small tremble in his voice. The same one that Izuku had had for a year while he was living in his father's care. Shoto was terrified and putting on a brave face so that he wouldn't make Izuku frightened as well. Revenge? On who? Did you do something bad to them? No, not me. My dad. He probably fought them or put one of their friends in jail or something. Is your dad a hero? Izuku almost shouted it, unable to contain his excitement. Mine too. I mean, no, he's not a hero, but he works for All Might. All Might? Shoto finally sounded interested in what Izuku was saying. Have you met him? Yeah, I see him all the time. I'm going to be a hero just like him when I grow up. What about you? Which hero is your daddy? Shoto tugged on his shirt and mumbled his answer. Who? Izuku frowned. Shoto took a deep breath and mumbled a bit louder. Endeavor. Izuku's eyes sparkled. Really? The number 2 hero. That's amazing. He's not that great. Shoto winced at Izuku's enthusiasm. Do you have a flame quirk too? Is that why there was fire before? I didn't mean to use it. Shoto said quickly, defensively. I don't need his quirk to be a hero. You're going to be a hero too. Izuku was too excited to notice that he was upsetting Shoto. That means that we can be heroes together. We'll have so much fun. Hey, do you want to come over to my house? We can play heroes together and design our hero costumes and we're not friends. Shoto cut him off harshly enough to make Izuku wince. Oh, okay. Then let's just find a way to go home. He looked around the room again but didn't see anything useful. We're just going to have to wait for the heroes to come and rescue us. Shoto crossed his arms and sat down with his back against the wall. I don't want to wait. Izuku shook his head. The longer the villains had them captive, the higher the chance that his father would catch wind of it and come after him. We have to go now. They are villains and grown-ups. What are we supposed to do? We don't even know what quirks they have or what they are planning to do with us. Shoto pulled his knees up to his chest. I just want to go home. Izuku bit his lip, not sure what to do. They had to do something, at least try and get away. Shoto was too scared, so it was up to him. Hey Shoto, watch this, watch this. Izuku puffed up his chest and said in his best All Might voice, don't be afraid, everything is okay now. Do you know why? It's because I am here. He held his finishing pose, hands on hips and a ridiculously large smile on his face. Shoto was quiet for a moment, then snorted as he relaxed the slightest bit. That wasn't anything like All Might. Was too. Izuku's cheeks flushed. I see him every day, I would know. It's like this. Shoto got up and copied All Might's catchphrase in a slightly different voice. No. Izuku pushed him aside, like this. They went back and forth, their voices getting stranger and their giggles getting louder. They stopped when they heard footsteps heading towards the door. They heard a heavy lock slide away and then the door swung open, blinding them with the light it let in. Looks like the kiddies are awake. Izuku didn't remember hearing this man's voice in the car. He was big, brawny, and he talked like a villain. And having a good time by the sounds of it. Shoto was trembling. Izuku pushed himself in front of the other boy and held his arms out to protect him. Who are you? And what do you want? I don't want you, you're not supposed to be here. So step aside. I'm not stupid. Izuku scowled, his eyes finally beginning to adjust. Shoto was hiding behind him, his small fingers gripping the back of Izuku's shirt. I know you want to hurt Shoto, but I'm not going to let you. What are you, some kind of hero? Don't you get it? I'm a scary villain, one who's not afraid of what might happen to him if he gets the BLD of some little boys on his hands. He stepped forward and reached out as if he were going to grab them. Shoto ducked back behind Izuku, trying to pull him away with him. Izuku stood his ground, watching the hand get closer and closer until it stopped a breath away from his face. He didn't flinch. He knew better, he'd spent a year practicing. Glaring through the gaps in the man's fingers, he answered in a chillingly calm voice, I've seen scarier. The hand drew back and the man crouched in front of him. Who? You really aren't afraid, are you? Well, that should be changing soon. Bring your little friend with you and we'll see if his daddy is as strong of a hero as you are. I don't want to go. Shoto whispered softly as the man left the room, leaving the door open for them to follow. Come on. Izuku took his hand and squared his shoulders. I have a plan. What kind of plan? Do you remember that man with the gas quirk that made us fall asleep? I need to get close enough to touch him. Can you use your fire to distract them? I don't use my fire. Shoto shook his head. But, maybe I can use my ice. You have ice and fire. Izuku had to shake himself away from asking more about the details of Shoto's quirk. Okay, let's do it then. But what if we dash? Shoto began. Are you boys coming? The villain called down the hallway. Or do you want me to come and get you? Coming. Izuku called, then squeezed Shoto's hand. I'm scared too, but we just have to hold out until the heroes get here. Shoto nodded and allowed Izuku to lead them down the dirty hallway. There were other doors, all closed except for one. It led to a room with boarded-up windows and 4 more villains sitting around the edges. Izuku recognized 3 of them as the ones that had abducted them earlier. He quickly identified the one who had the gas quirk in the furthest corner of the room and gently shook Shoto's hand so that he would notice too. The villain that seemed to be in charge was sitting on the only piece of furniture in the center of the room, a wooden table with banged-up legs. Izuku stopped a few feet away from him, making sure to position himself where he could easily make a run for the man in the corner. Shoto stood close behind his shoulder, still holding tightly to his hand. The villain lifted an object from the table and Izuku recognized his phone. Can you tell me why, when we called the number in your phone listed as Dad to try and set up a ransom for you, the person who answered the phone was All Might? Izuku felt his BLD run cold. Before he could think of an excuse, Shoto was speaking up for the first time. Izuku's dad works for All Might at Might Tower. Izuku nodded. He must have left his phone in All Might's office. If they had called to set up a ransom, All Might was sure to be in a panic looking for him. Endeavor as well, trying to find Shoto. Izuku hoped that the heroes knew that they were together. Really? What does your daddy do at Might Tower? He manages All Might's personal life. Izuku knew the cover story well. You can ask anyone, even All Might. Daddy was probably out looking for me and left his phone behind, and that's why All Might answered. He set the phone back down. I wouldn't count on a rescue anytime soon. Only Endeavor is allowed in right now, and that's just so he can watch when I pull out his baby's eyes. Shoto whimpered in fear, but Izuku felt himself getting angry instead. You're a really bad villain. Shoto isn't his daddy, he has his own quirk and his own life. You can't hurt him just because you don't like Endeavor. I've never even heard of you, so even if you fought with Endeavor before, he won't remember you. He'll just roast like a marshmallow and then take Shoto home. It was kinda cute at first, but now you're just getting on my nerves. Maybe I'll just pull your eyes out now, since you seem to be volunteering. Izuku slapped his hand away when he reached for his face again, BLD boiling. Don't touch me. If you touch me, then he'll come after you. I'm not afraid of All Might or his little workers. I'm not talking about All Might. Izuku's low voice brought a sudden chill to the room, enough to make all of the villains perk up to attention. All Might is nice, All Might forgives people. I'm talking about him. If you touch me or Shoto, he'll hunt you for the rest of your life, and when he catches you he'll make you pull out your own eyes. Don't touch me. A thick tension hung in the air between them. Izuku was a little shocked by the harsh tone in his own voice. He'd never sounded like that before, but he knew exactly where he'd learned it. It was the same kind of voice his father used while he was working, the same one that Tomura used every time he spoke to him. He sounded like a villain, a real one, and it made his and every other hair in the room stand on end. Izuku held his breath, he and Shoto squeezing each other's hands so tightly that they were starting to lose feeling in their fingertips. Finally, the villain stood, a dark scowl on his face. Okay, I've had enough. Leave him alone. Shoto shouted, and the temperature in the room plummeted. A heavy sheet of ice branched out on the floor, spreading from the right side of Shoto's body. Izuku let go of Shoto's hand and tried to run for the corner but slipped and landed on his stomach. Nice try. The villain grabbed him by his collar and lifted him up off the ground. If you were going to run, you should have at least gone for the door. Put me down. Izuku shouted, kicking and swinging his arms. Put this nuisance back to sleep, we'll deal with him after Endeavor. He tossed Izuku to the gas villain, then grabbed Shoto's arm and lifted him as well. I have a man's life to ruin. Sorry, kid. The man began as he lifted his hand to Izuku's face. Izuku grabbed hold of his hand and focused on how much he wanted to take his quirk away so he could protect himself and Shoto. He'd never tried to do it on purpose and prayed that it would work. He held his breath, just in case. When the villain paused to flex his fingers, he knew that it had worked. Izuku released the large hand and put both of his up to his face instead. How did it work? He'd only seen it for a few seconds. Sleepy gas, work please. Go out. The heavy gas poured out of Izuku's hands point blank into the man's face. He started coughing and choking, dropping Izuku in the process. Izuku quickly regained his footing and pushed out as much gas as he could through his palms. He had to knock them all out before they could stop him. Did it take more gas depending on the person's size? Did that also affect how long it kept them asleep? There was so much he didn't know, maybe he should have just waited for the heroes to come. Fortunately, the gas spread quickly, gathering in thick clouds and enveloping all of the villains before they could reach the door. Okay, now stop. Izuku said after they all had hit the floor. I said stop, no more gas. The clouds grew thicker and thicker. Izuku thought about giving the quirk back, but that would mean that the gas would start affecting him too. He pressed his hands together, but the gas seeped through his fingers. No, no, no. He ran to the table and grabbed his phone. It only rang once before All Might answered. Izuku. I can't make it stop. Izuku cried. Make what stop? Are you okay? Where are you? I did it again. I took his quirk to make everyone fall asleep, but now I don't know how to turn it off. Calm down, it's okay. All Might seemed to be saying it as much to calm himself as Izuku. Take a deep breath. Izuku forced a deep breath through his sobs and let it out slowly. After a few more he was able to wipe his eyes. Oh. It stopped. Now tell me where you are. The windows are boarded up, I can't see outside. Okay. They turned off the tracking on your phone, so turn it on and I'll come get you, okay? Okay, but the gas will make you sleepy. I'll be okay. Just turn it on for me. Izuku nodded, forgetting that All Might couldn't see him. He turned the tracking on and then put the phone up to his ear again. Did it work? Yes. He sounded relieved. I'll be there soon. Don't go. Izuku held the phone tightly. I can stay on the phone with you until I get there. He promised. And there are other heroes on their way. The phone started beeping, indicating that the battery was low. The phone is dying. It's okay, just stay where you are. What if they wake up before you get here? Use that quirk to put them back to sleep if they do. I'm scared, I don't want you to go. You're going to be fine, I promise. Izuku nodded again. Dad dash. The line went dead and he sat still for a moment, still holding the phone to his ear. He lowered it slowly and looked around the cloudy room. He felt extremely alone and vulnerable. Oh, 𝐿𝐿. He ran over to 𝐿𝐿 and rolled him over. 𝐿𝐿 was sleeping and seemed to be okay. Izuku peeked out the door, checking for more villains. The coast was clear, so he dragged 𝐿𝐿 out of the room to get him into the fresh air. After checking to make sure that the villains were still sleeping, he dared to venture a little farther down the hallway. The door to outside was closed and he could see the shadow of someone standing on the other side. Swallowing hard, he retreated back to 𝐿𝐿 to wait. Izuku sat 𝐿𝐿 up against the wall, then sat down beside him with his knees pulled up to his chest. When 𝐿𝐿 started to slowly wake, he checked on the villains again to make sure they were still asleep, then returned to sit with 𝐿𝐿. A loud crash outside made Izuku jump to his feet. Someone was coming. He stood in front of 𝐿𝐿 with his tiny fists raised, ready to protect him. The figure that appeared in the hallway was not a villain, but rather a hulking figure covered in fire. Endeavor. Izuku's hands dropped in relief and he sank back down to the ground. Where is All Might? Who are you? Endeavor glared at him, then noticed his son. What have you done with 𝐿𝐿? He's sleeping, so are the villains. Izuku pointed a trembling finger to the door. The gas had finally cleared out, leaving the view of the sleeping bodies clear. Endeavor glanced into the room and then crouched in front of Izuku and 𝐿𝐿. Who are you? I'm Izuku. When the villains were trying to take 𝐿𝐿, I tried to stop them, but they just took me with them too. Did you do this? Endeavor gestured to the sleeping villains and Izuku hesitantly nodded. They said they were going to pull 𝐿𝐿's eyes out when you got here. So I had to do something. He stuttered. And I called for more help, but then my phone died and there was someone outside, so I didn't know what to do and dash. All right. Calm down. Endeavor picked 𝐿𝐿 up and rested his head on his shoulder. How much longer will they be asleep? I don't know. Izuku looked into the room and shivered. Maybe soon. 𝐿𝐿 is starting to wake up, so Endeavor pulled out his phone and told his backup that it was safe to come in. He finished quickly and offered a hand down to Izuku. Okay, time to get you both home. I'm supposed to wait here. Izuku shook his head. When I talked to my dad, he said not to go anywhere. It's not safe here. Your father will understand. Endeavor started walking towards the exit, expecting Izuku to follow. Izuku hesitated a moment, then started after the pro hero. If they were just going outside, it would be fine. All Might would still know where to find him. And if he did stay here, he would be in the way when the police and heroes showed up to take care of the villains. They should still be asleep, but Izuku looked over his shoulder just to be sure. They weren't all asleep. Perhaps it was because the quirk had originally belonged to him, or because he was the first affected by it when Izuku had activated it. But the villain whose quirk had been stolen was awake and coming straight for Izuku. You stole it. The villain's voice sounded dead and desperate, like a zombie in the scary movies that Tomura would sometimes watch. Return it to me. Izuku screamed and Endeavor spun around but didn't have enough time to react. Instead, the roof shattered inward, accompanied by dust, rubble, and splinters as All Might crashed in. With a straight punch to the face, he sent the villain flying, knocked out cold. I'm here. He delivered his line in a chillingly dangerous voice, the smile missing from his face. All Might. Endeavor scowled. What are you doing here? Dad. Izuku ran straight to All Might, who scooped him up and hugged him tightly to his chest. Izuku, thank goodness. I was so worried that I'd lost you. I want to go home. Izuku cried. Sure, it's okay now, it's okay, son. I'm here. All Might looked up and winced at the look on Endeavor's face. This was going to take some explaining. Izuku also still had the villain's quirk. They needed to find a way to get it back without him noticing. The perfect distraction came with 𝐿𝐿 waking up, humming softly and rubbing his eyes. Are you all right? Endeavor asked, making him jump. Dad. You're here. 𝐿𝐿 stuttered. All Might softly whispered in Izuku's ear and brought him near the villain's unconscious body so that he could touch it and return the quirk. With the top 2 pro heroes here and the police on their way in, the danger had passed. Of course I'm here. Endeavor placed a hand on 𝐿𝐿's forehead. Did those men hurt you? No. 𝐿𝐿 shook his head then started crying. 𝐿𝐴 sighed and rubbed his back. Calm down, the danger is over now. We're going home. At that moment, the police came rushing in to finish apprehending the villains. They were surprised to see All Might there, but didn't ask questions. One of them offered to take Izuku from him, but All Might politely waved them away. I'll take him back to his family. After getting the okay that he could leave, All Might nodded to 𝐴 and left with Izuku. At home, Izuku refused to let go of All Might, and All Might didn't try to put him down. They sat on the couch in the dark, holding on to each other in silence. Izuku had finally stopped crying. After a long time, he lifted his head a little to speak. It wasn't him. They were just after Shoto. All Might gave him a squeeze. I'm so sorry, Izuku. Is Makoto mad at me? Am I in trouble? She's just glad that you're safe, and so am I. Just please, don't ever do anything like that again. I was just trying to help. I need to tell Makoto that I'm sorry. He sniffed. I didn't mean to make her worry, and I didn't mean to tell 𝐴 that you adopted me. I wasn't supposed to. I'll deal with 𝐴 and we can have Makoto over soon. You didn't do anything wrong. You were so brave today, I'm proud of you. I invited Shoto to come over and play. Can he? I don't see any problem with that. All Might replied, rubbing Izuku's back. He stood up and started carrying Izuku down the hall for pajamas and bed. While he was pulling the shirt over Izuku's head, he got a strange smile on his face. What is it? Izuku asked nervously. I just remembered. Today was the first time you called me Dad, and that makes me very happy. Izuku flushed and looked away, tugging on the bottom of his shirt. With a small chuckle, All Might stood and ruffled his hair. Time for bed, kiddo. Wait, Dad. Izuku grabbed his leg. Can I sleep in your room tonight? I'm scared. You don't have anything to be afraid of, Izuku. All Might picked him up again. But if it makes you feel safer, then that's okay for tonight. Izuku wrapped his arms around All Might's neck and nodded, his face buried in the fabric of his hero costume. I love you, Daddy. All Might nuzzled him back and kissed the top of his head. I love you too, Aizu. Enji Todoroki sat across the table from Toshi, his large arms crossed over his chest. He brought an intimidating aura into the small kitchen, even without his hero costume on. Down the hallway, they could hear the loud chatter and giggles of Izuku and Shoto as they played in the other room. Toshi wasn't sure how to break the awkward silence between them, so he continued holding his pleasant, if not slightly pained, smile. A rush of small feet clattered down the hall and Izuku ran into the kitchen. With his hero book in his hands. Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. He tugged on Toshi's sleeve to get his attention. What is it, Aizu? Toshi was relieved at the interruption. Izuku opened the book and held it up for him to see. Can Best Jeanist make the threads move in other people's clothes, or just his? Well, I have seen him use it on others before to get them out of the way when there was trouble. I knew it. Izuku closed the book then started to leave, pausing to run back to Toshi. He tugged on his sleeve until Toshi leaned down, then kissed his cheek and ran back to his room. He was so sweet. Toshi had nearly forgotten about Enji, but as soon as he sat back up he was faced with his sharp glare and matching scowl. After glaring at him for a moment, Enji's eyes traveled over his shoulder to the pictures on the fridge. In the center was their first family photo, taken the day of the official adoption. One of them showed Izuku playing catch with Makoto and Naomasa at the park, another was Izuku eating taiyaki with Torino in the kitchen. Toshi's favorite was one that Sasaki had taken when Izuku was visiting Might Tower. He in his hero costume and Izuku in one of his All Might hoodies, cuddled up together and sleeping on the couch in his office. Izuku had also drawn several pictures of them together, his family portraits usually including Torino and Sasaki, sometimes Makoto and Naomasa as well. All these years you've gone to such great lengths to keep your private life secret. Enji broke the silence at last, turning his eyes back to Toshinori once more. I hope you're not disappointed. Toshi gave a nervous laugh, scratching the back of his head. I am. Enji replied bluntly. Hoping that his wince wasn't too visible, Toshi dropped his hand and sighed. It probably isn't fair to ask you this, But could you keep my relationship to Izuku a secret? If you wanted to keep your private life private, then maybe you shouldn't have decided to have a family. Enji was always like this. Toshi had known as soon as he'd found out that he wouldn't be understanding, but he still had to try. Maybe you're right, but it's too late for me to back out on Izuku now. He needs me. Honestly, I'm surprised you've been able to keep it a secret this long. Enji huffed. Toshi did have to agree with that. Keeping Izuku a secret had been much harder than he'd thought it would be. Still, Enji went on, I never picked you as one to sleep around and then leave a kid behind. What happened to the girl? What? Toshi startled. No, it isn't like that. Izuku's mother died a year ago. He's been living with his father since then. Well, at least until a month ago when I rescued him. Hold on. Enji held up a hand to stop him. Rescued him? Aren't you his father? That's what I'm trying to tell you, Izuku is adopted. Enji seemed stumped for a moment. At long last, he finally just asked, why? Izuku's father is Toshi stopped when he heard a loud crash coming from Izuku's room, followed by a scream. He knocked over his chair as he stood and raced down the hallway to see what was wrong, Enji following after him. What happened? It broke, but there's something wrong with Izuku. Shoto said, grabbing Toshi and pulling him into the room. There was a broken mirror that had fallen from the wall, shattered across the bedroom floor. After a quick glance around the room, both boys were uninjured but shaken. Izuku was more than shaken. The boy was holding his hands over his ears, eyes wide and out of focus. He was shaking uncontrollably, crying silently. Toshi motioned for Shoto to take a step back, then sat down next to Izuku and placed a hand on his back. Aizu, are you okay? Izuku shook his head. It's Tomura's fault, I didn't break it. Tomura isn't here. I don't want to go back. Izuku shouted. You're not going back. Toshi coaxed his arms down. The mirror just fell and shattered. It's okay, you're okay, no one is going to take you away. Izuku nodded, but was still shaking. Toshi picked him up and held him for a moment until the shaking stopped. Why don't you and Shoto get a treat and then you can watch TV? How does that sound? Izuku nodded and looked over to Shoto. Are you hungry? I'll clean up, so you two head into the kitchen. Toshi set Izuku down and made sure to wipe his eyes. I'll come and check on you when I'm done. Izuku took Shoto's hand and led him past Enji. Grandpa Torino left lots of taiyaki in the freezer, but you can't tell him that we ate some of it. Toshi started picking up the large pieces of broken glass. Enji stood in the doorway, arms crossed again, watching him. After hearing the television turn on, Toshi spoke at last. Izuku's BRTH father is a villain. While he was living with him over the last year, Izuku was around a lot of dangerous villains. I rescued him about a month ago and I decided to adopt him myself because... I don't know. I suppose I've always been jealous of you, having a family to come home to every night. Izuku was the right person to make that dream come true for me. All you did was put him in a lot of danger. Enji replied. He's already in danger. His father is still at large, as are most of the villains from his organization, and he wants to take Izuku back. I can't let that happen. So please, don't let anyone know about this. Dad! Shoto shouted from down the hall, and the panic in his voice made Toshi drop the broken mirror pieces he'd picked up and follow Enji quickly down the hall. They rushed into the living room and together took in news playing across the television screen. No leads on the violent murder of 6 villains in jail, apprehended earlier this week by the #2 hero Endeavor. The newscaster was saying while the screen showed the mugshots of 6 familiar faces. The victims exhibited signs of damage from multiple quirks, mutilated nearly beyond recognition, and Toshi quickly grabbed the remote and turned off the TV, but Izuku and Shoto had already guessed the truth. Those were the villains from before. Shoto stuttered. He and Izuku both looked sick, staring at the black screen. But why? It's my fault. Izuku turned to look at Toshi, tears pouring down his face. No, Aizu, they just said that no one knows what happened. It was him. Izuku insisted. He always does stuff like this. They died because of me. What's going on? Shoto asked, starting to cry as well. Everything is going to be okay. Toshi knelt in front of both of them and smiled to reassure them. The heroes are going to figure out what happened and catch whoever is responsible. No one is going to blame you or hurt you, because none of it had anything to do with you. Shoto started to calm down, but Izuku pushed him away. No. It's not okay. Don't touch me, I don't want you to get hurt too. I want everyone to be safe and happy and smiling. Izuku, this wasn't your fault. Toshi repeated firmly, even though he fully agreed with him. It had to be all for one behind this, but it wasn't fair for Izuku to feel responsible for the choices of such a crazy villain. Why can't he just leave me alone? Izuku sobbed, reaching out for Toshi at last. It's okay. Toshi rubbed his back and gave Shoto another smile to keep him calm as well. Izuku is just remembering some scary things, like you. He's going to be fine. Don't be scared, Izuku. Shot crawled across the couch and placed a hand on Izuku's back as well. Thank you, Shoto. Toshi was glad that Izuku had made a friend. I'm sorry, but maybe you should come back and play some other time. Can I? Shoto smiled, then looked back to his father for permission. Enji didn't seem too pleased with the idea, but was also distracted by what they had seen on the news. Toshi knew that he would want to leave soon to assist with the investigation. You're always welcome here. Toshi promised. Right, Aizu? Izuku sniffed and nodded, turning to look at Shoto but not letting go of Toshi. I'm sorry. I wanted to play with you more today. It's okay. Shoto shook his head. And don't worry, my dad is a great hero and he's going to catch the villain for you. Izuku wiped his eyes and turned his gaze to Enji. Please be careful, Endeavor. He doesn't like you, he wants to kill you too. Sure. Enji agreed awkwardly, thrown by the seriousness in Izuku's voice. Come on Shoto, we're leaving. Toshi picked Izuku up and walked them to the door. Come back again soon, Shoto. I will. Shoto promised and waved goodbye to Izuku. I'll see you later. See you later. Izuku waved back shyly. After the door closed, he snuggled into Toshi's arms. It was him, I know it. Toshi didn't want to argue, he didn't want to lie to Izuku. Instead, he kissed the top of his head and locked the door. Don't worry, Izuku, we're going to catch him. Endeavor is good at tracking down villains. He won't get away with this. You keep saying that it's okay, but I'm still scared. Izuku choked. That's okay, you can be scared just as long as you remember that I love you and I'm here to protect you. You keep remembering that, and someday you won't be scared anymore. Are you going to go and help them look for him? I'll send your uncle Sasaki over to help. Toshi carried Izuku back to the couch to sit down. But for now, I just want to be with you. Toshi had hoped that whoever was knocking on the door would go away if he ignored them long enough, but his visitors were persistent. Eventually he had to answer before they woke Izuku. Hi. A partially drunk woman fell into his arms when he opened the door. We found you at last. Flustered, Toshi looked to the two men standing behind her. It took him a moment to recognize them without their hero costumes on. Midnight, President MIC, and Eraserhead. With a heavy sigh, he tried to push Midnight off of him. What are you doing here? You said you would go drinking with us one of these days. MIC practically shouted, his voice echoing down the hallway. Shish. Toshi tried to quiet him, worried that his neighbors would hear. Tonight really isn't a good night dash, oh come on. Midnight giggled. We're off duty, All Might. Have a little fun with us. Sure. Toshi repeated. His neighbors didn't know that he was All Might. If anyone found out he would have to move, and Izuku didn't need that extra stress in his life. When Midnight and President MIC continued their rowdy behavior, with Eraserhead standing and watching without helping, Toshi grabbed all of them and dragged them into the apartment. Wow, so this is where All Might lives. Midnight looked around while Toshi tried to keep them corralled in the entryway. At least take your shoes if you're going to go in. Eraser called after her. Toshi shushed them again. Listen, you need to leave. I really can't go out tonight. What's wrong? You hiding something? MIC laughed. Midnight had stumbled out of her boots and slipped past him. I'm coming in. Hey! Toshi whispered frantically, and MIC used his distraction to jump past him as well. I'm serious, please go. He followed after them, hoping to head them off before they got too far into the house. What are you whispering for? Midnight asked, much too loudly. Sure. Toshi prayed that Izuku was still asleep. It had only been an hour since he'd tucked him in. Lately, Izuku had been having trouble sleeping through the night. Between his anxiety and the nightmares about his father, he'd been a wreck, even having to stay home from school once or twice. Herding Midnight and MIC back to the door, Toshi noticed Eraser standing in the kitchen door, staring at the fridge. He didn't say anything when Toshi grabbed his arm and pulled him along, and Toshi's heart started pounding. The light was off, but had he seen the pictures? Midnight and MIC continued complaining over Toshi's shushing, only stopping when Izuku appeared, rubbing his eyes. Daddy! What's happening? All four adults froze. Toshi felt sick, slowly turning to face Izuku. Izuku's curls were sticking in a few places. He always had the worst bedhead. He was wearing the pajamas that Sasaki had bought for him, patterned with the All Might logo, and hadn't put on his slippers, walking down the hallway barefoot instead. He was squinting at the light, still rubbing his sleepy eyes. Why aren't you in bed? Toshi tried to push the three heroes to the door. You have school tomorrow. I heard people talking, so I came to see who was here. Izuku hid a yawn and came closer, trying to look around Toshi to see who was at his door. They're just leaving. Go back to bed and I'll come tuck you in again. Toshi gave another shove, hoping they would take the hint, but Midnight pushed back, quickly sobering up. Who is that? Oh, he's adorable. He's just dash, Toshi began, frantically trying to think of an excuse. Visiting family. His neighbor's kid. Izuku didn't give him a chance to finish. Daddy, are these your friends? He ran over and grabbed Toshi's leg, looking up at the three visitors. Getting a closer look at them, Izuku's sleepy eyes suddenly lit up. Heroes. Hi there, sweetie. Midnight dropped down to his level. Who are you? I'm Izuku. He bounced with excitement, still holding Toshi's leg. You're Midnight, aren't you? Wow, you're so smart. Midnight praised. How old are you? 7. Izuku answered. Toshi reached down and picked Izuku up, out of Midnight's reach. Izuku, you need to go to bed. But Daddy, there are heroes here. Izuku protested. I want to ask them about their quirks. Aizu, Toshi took on a warning tone, something he rarely had to do with Izuku. Izuku pouted, but didn't argue. He kissed Toshi's cheek and Toshi kissed his forehead before he set him back down. Bye. Izuku waved sadly to the heroes. Midnight and MIC waved back, grinning like idiots. They watched him walk back down the hallway and disappear into his room. Oh, my. Midnight grabbed Toshi's arm and suppressed a high squeal. You have a son. And he's the cutest thing I've ever seen. Why didn't you ever tell us before? Listen, it's not what you think. Toshi groaned. He couldn't just push them out now that they knew, but he didn't want Izuku overhearing them either. Maybe he could just postpone them for a day, meet up, and give them the full explanation. As he considered it, he realized from the eagerness in Midnight and MIC's eyes, accompanied by Eraser's raised eyebrows, let him know that they weren't leaving without a full explanation. With a heavy sigh, he stepped out of the way to let them in. I guess you should come in after all. On their way to the living room, there was a loud thud and piercing scream from Izuku's room. Toshi flew down the hall and into Izuku's room. He'd never heard Izuku sound so scared before, not even when he'd been kidnapped by villains or fighting with Tomura. The other pros followed close behind him, their hero instincts taking over at the sound of trouble. Toshi clicked on the light and was relieved to see that Izuku was still there. He was crying on the floor. Had he just fallen out of bed? Aizu, what's wrong? Toshi quickly scooped him up. Izuku was crying too hard to answer, but after a few minutes he finally managed to stutter out some sort of reply. I thought Daddy was. I don't want to go. Sure, Toshi rubbed his back and looked around the room for something that may have triggered Izuku into thinking that he'd seen his father there. His eyes rested on the boxes in the corner with one of his posters hanging over it. He took a step back to the door and clicked the light on and off a few times. "Aizu, it was just the boxes. No one is here to take you away." Izuku didn't listen to him and sobbed harder into Toshi's shoulder. Perhaps it was because of the late hour, or maybe just that he had been too scared. He was quivering in Toshi's arms, small fists wrapped tightly into his shirt. "Don't let him take me." "I won't," Toshi promised, rocking him from side to side and rubbing his back to calm him down. "Sure, it's okay. I'm here, I've got you. You aren't going anywhere." After a few minutes, Izuku's sobs faded away into hiccups, but he still didn't let go of Toshi or even make an effort to look up. He was still shaking, still terrified, and didn't seem ready to settle down anytime soon. Turning off the light again, Toshi decided to bring him into the living room. "Is he all right?" Eraser asked, waiting in the hall with MIC and Midnight. "He's fine," Toshi nodded. "Just scared. Sorry to worry you." They sat down in the living room, the three heroes waiting patiently and awkwardly while Toshi slowly got Izuku to relax. After Izuku had stopped shaking and wiped away his tears, he was too embarrassed to turn and face their visitors. After making certain that Izuku was better, Toshi looked back up to the pros. "This is Izuku, my son who I recently adopted." He began, then nudged Izuku to try and draw him out. "Aizu, these are some of my colleagues. The pro heroes Midnight, President MIC, and Eraserhead. Do you want to say hello to them?" Izuku squeaked in reply. Toshi could tell that he did want to talk to them but was too afraid to face them after they'd seen his breakdown. "It's okay, they aren't going to hurt you." Toshi reached over to the coffee table and picked up the notebook that Izuku had left out. "Why don't you show them your hero book?" Izuku looked up at last, his lips still trembling. "See, can I?" "Sure." Toshi handed it to him and turned him around to face them. "Don't be scared, they're very nice. Most of them. Some of the time. Usually they're just annoying." Izuku could tell that Toshi was trying to cheer him up. He did his best to relax. "You're annoying too sometimes, Daddy." "That's supposed to be a secret." Toshi whispered loudly in Izuku's ear, making him giggle and drop his guard at last. "So All Might adopted an angel like you?" Midnight asked, leaning forward and giving him her motherly smile. "I think I'm a little jealous. You wouldn't be interested in living with me instead, would you?" Izuku firmly shook his head and grabbed Toshi's arm, looking defensive. "No. I love All Might. I don't want to be with anyone else." MIC, at last, had reached his limit. He was visibly trembling, then threw his head back and shouted, "So cute!" His voice was incredibly loud and Izuku quickly covered his ears. MIC's voice was suddenly cut short by a violent glare from Eraser. "Why are you shouting?" Eraser's hair slowly settled around him as he closed his eyes. Arby's rubbed his temples. "Do you have any idea what time it is? This is why we never take you anywhere." Izuku nearly fell out of Toshi's lap with excitement. "You just erased his quirk. You can erase quirks. That's so cool. Why haven't I ever seen you on TV before?" "He doesn't like being on TV." MIC answered at a normal volume, regaining his composure. "He works behind the scenes. You know, doing all the boring stuff." "What's in your book?" Midnight asked before an argument could start between the two men. It has heroes in it." Izuku timidly handed it to her. Midnight started flipping through the pages, MIC and Eraser leaning in on each side to see. "Did you do all this yourself?" she asked. Izuku nodded. "But it only has the heroes I've seen on TV, since I don't know about any others." "This is very impressive." Midnight admitted, "Oh look, this one is me. And you drew me so well." "Midnight, your quirk is super great." "Oh, thank you, sweetie. But I'm not in my hero costume right now, so call me Big Sister Kiyoma, okay?" "Okay." Izuku turned back to Toshi. "Now I have two big sisters, Mikoto and Kiyoma. Good for you." Toshi rubbed his head and Izuku beamed with happiness. Hey, what about me? Mic eagerly pointed to himself. I'm your big brother Hisashi, right? Uncle Hisashi. Izuku crossed his arms and shook his head firmly. Toshi, Midnight, and Eraser all started laughing. But why? Mic pouted. Big brothers are no good. Izuku said, listing the reasons on his tiny fingers. They're mean. They pull your hair and arms, and when your daddy isn't looking they try to choke you or drown you or turn you to dust, and they're always trying to kill heroes and police. I don't want any more big brothers. Then it's a good thing you have so many uncles. Toshi gave Izuku a gentle squeeze, holding back his own emotions. Izuku nodded and snuggled back into him. Toshi gave a quick, warning glance to the shocked faces across from, letting them know not to ask Izuku anything more about it. Midnight quickly stepped in to brighten the mood again. So have you met lots of heroes, Izuku? Just Daddy and Uncle Sasaki, and Grandpa Torino. Oh. And Endeavor. And now you. Endeavor. How scary. What was he like? They kept the conversation going, with Izuku firing questions at the heroes about their quirks and costumes. Eventually, his eyes began to droop again. Toshi started rubbing his back again, humming softly while Izuku struggled to keep his eyes open. Midnight and the others stopped answering Izuku's questions. He was mostly mumbling to himself, coming up with ideas on quirks and costumes and support items. At last, his eyes closed and he rested his head against Toshi's shoulder, fast asleep. Toshi let out the breath he'd been holding all night. Gathering Izuku in his arms, he walked him down the hall and slipped him back in bed. With one last kiss goodnight, he squared his shoulders and returned to his waiting visitors. They were all quiet, waiting for him. You probably guessed, but Izuku's is from a family of villains. His father and his followers haven't been caught yet, including Izuku's adopted older brother. And now they're looking to take him back. Eraser asked, painfully perceptive as always. Toshi nodded. He was so tired. These last few weeks had taken a heavy toll. Between chasing down leads on All for One and taking care of Izuku, whose anxiety was growing more and more out of control each day, plus his regular hero work he was all but done in. The fewer the people who know who he is and where he is, the better. That's one of the reasons why I haven't told the other pros. His father is dangerous, a walking natural disaster, and like you saw, Izuku doesn't have good memories of him. How long has it been? Mic asked. About 2 months. And how much longer before you catch him? Eraser pressed. Toshi tried to hold back a long groan. We have some leads, but he's good at slipping away from heroes. Every time I think I have him cornered, he just disappears again. Sounds like you could use some help. Midnight offered, but Toshi refused. He's more than just a criminal, he defines the word villain. When it comes to strength, I'm the only one who comes close to matching him. Still, Mic argued, we can keep our eyes and ears open for you. I would appreciate that. Toshi had to admit it. He paused and felt a low sense of dread. With an exhausted sigh, he turned to the doorway. Izuku, why are you up again? Izuku hid halfway behind the door frame, his cheeks wet with tears. I tried really hard, but I can't sleep. See, can I sleep in your bed again tonight? Or, Izu, Midnight sighed, walking over to him. Do you want me to use my quirk on you? Izuku considered it for a moment but shook his head. I just want my daddy. Eraser had to cover Mic's mouth to keep him from screaming again. It's time we left anyways. Toshi agreed, feeling relieved. He picked Izuku up again as he walked then to the door. Izuku was just as tired as he was, sleepily rubbing his face into Toshi's shoulder. Tell the heroes goodbye. Bye-bye. Izuku waved. Bye-bye, 𝐬𝐽. Midnight and Mic waved back, the silly smiles on their faces over more. Bye, Uncle Shota. Izuku said again when Eraser didn't respond. Good night. Eraser nodded. At last they were fine and Toshi could tuck Izuku into bed for the last time. He made sure to grab the nightlight from Izuku's room on his way down the hall, as well as his favorite blanket. He climbed into bed and pulled the covers up over both of them, wrapping his arms around Izuku and snuggling in. Despite how tired he was, Izuku didn't fall right to sleep. Toshi could feel him wiggling. "Aizu, Daddy's tired and so are you. Please go to sleep." "I'm trying." Izuku pulled the covers over his head. Toshi pulled his head out and hugged him tighter. "Do you want me to sing to you? Can you just tell me the story about your quirk again? The one with my real uncle. You like that story, don't you?" Toshi sighed. "Okay then, close your eyes." After just a few lines into the story, both Toshi and Izuku were sleeping soundly in each other's arms and dreaming about heroes. "I don't mind having the boxes in my room." Izuku leaned over Toshi's shoulder. "I won't let them scare me anymore, you don't have to move them." "Well, it is your room, you don't need it full of my things. I've been meaning to take care of them for ages." Toshi answered, dusting off the top of the box in front of him and opening the flaps. "I don't even remember what's in most of them. Can I help?" Izuku came around to the side of the box. "Sure." Toshi pulled the box out a bit more so they could both get to it. "Books." Izuku grabbed the first book he saw and opened it. "There are heroes in here." "My yearbook from you." Toshi smiled and took it from him, flipping through the pages. "What's UA?" Izuku asked with a small frown. "It's a school for heroes. I went there when I was younger." "A school for heroes?" Izuku repeated, snatching the book back. "I want to go. Maybe when you're older." Toshi chuckled at Izuku's instant pout. "It's a school for big kids, Aizu, and a very hard one to get into. I don't think you're ready yet." "But I want to go." Izuku complained. "You want to get into UA? Then I guess we should start training you now. UA is the best hero school there is." "Of course it is, since you went there. Look, it's this you." Toshi cringed a little at his high school photo. "Yes, that's me. Are Uncle Hisashi and Uncle Shota in here too?" "Well, they did go to you with your big sister Kiyoma, but that was after I graduated. They're thinking about becoming teachers there, you know, so by the time you're old enough to go you'll get to learn from them." "I can't wait. Can't I be grown up now?" "No." Toshi startled. "I mean, it takes time to grow up. And once you do, you don't get to play around anymore." "But then I would be a hero." "You will be a hero someday and I can't wait." Toshi ruffled Izuku's curls. "But can't you just stay my little Izuku for now?" "I guess." Izuku set the book down and reached into the box again. "Who are all of these pictures of?" "Those are from when I lived in America." Toshi said. "I got to meet lots of great heroes there." "Who is this?" Izuku held up one of the pictures. "My best friend, David Shields. He's the one who designs all of my costumes for me. I think he has a daughter your age, Melissa, but he still lives in California. I want to meet them. Maybe next time they come to visit, or you and Melissa can be pen pals. I'd forgotten about some of these pictures. I want to put this one on the fridge." Izuku held up the picture of All Might and David. "Okay, if you want to." Toshi reached into the box again. "I didn't realize that I kept this, my old uniform from you. Can I wear it?" "It's too big for you. When you go to U, it will get you your own new uniform. But here, you can hang these U banners up in your room if you want." "Yay." Izuku held the banners up to the light. "I love them. Looks like I kept some of my textbooks too. These are out of date, no sense keeping them." He set them aside and Izuku started flipping through them. "The rest of this looks like souvenirs from America." "Who is this?" Izuku asked, carefully picking up a photo that had been stashed between the pages of the textbook. "Is this you? Who is this lady? She looks so nice. Where did you find that?" Toshi swallowed hard. "I thought I lost it." "Who is it?" Izuku asked again. "That's me and Nana, my old teacher." "You mean Grandma Nana? The hero? This is her." Izuku carefully ran his fingers over the picture. "She's pretty, and you look happy." "She was very pretty." Toshi agreed. "She was like a mother to me." "What happened to her?" Toshi hesitated. "She was killed by a villain, before you were even born." I wish I could have met her. Izuku set the picture in his lap sadly. Me too, kiddo. I think she would have really liked you too. Can we visit her grave again soon? And mommy's too. I think that's a good idea. Toshi nodded. I'm going to go and hang these up on the fridge. Izuku stood, holding the pictures of Nana and David to his chest. They're part of our family too. Toshi watched him go, the familiar twist of sadness and regret now mixed with happiness and hope sinking in his chest. I wish you were here, Nana, you would love him. Daddy, come and see. Izuku called from the kitchen. I'm coming. Toshi called back, slowly getting to his feet and looking at the memories scattered around him. Thank goodness he'd suffered through all of them, the good and the bad, so that he could be here now with Izuku. Everything was ready. All of Izuku's favorite toys were lined up neatly in the shelves, plus all the new ones that he'd bought over the last 2 months in anticipation. The bed was made, covered in the softest blankets and the fluffiest pillows. Sometimes Izuku used them to make forts, so he'd filled the room with plenty of them. A table full of paper and crayons, hero coloring books, glitter, dull scissors and glue sat in the corner by the window. Izuku would love the big window. A television screen took up an entire wall. He would be able to watch from the bed or from the large beanbag chairs. Lots of games, movies, and footage of all his favorite heroes were ready to go. The bathroom had a tub big enough to swim in plus enough bath toys and bubbles to last a lifetime. All of the posters were on the wall and the closet was full of new clothes and shoes. Best of all, it was tucked away from civilization in a place where no hero, not even All Might, could find it. All that was missing now was Izuku. All for One looked around the room again, feeling pleased. He couldn't wait to see the look on Izuku's face when he brought him home at last. Izuku would be so happy to be free from wherever the heroes had him locked up. He had run through it so many times in his head, the way Izuku would come running to him when he called and how he would start crying with relief. At their reunion. Then he would take Izuku to their new home and watch how surprised he would be when he saw his new room. They would watch a movie together and Izuku would tell him how scared he'd been and how happy he was to be back. It was going to be perfect. All for One turned and walked out of the room. Despite the setback of All Might crashing the old hideout before he was ready to abandon it, his work had made a quick recovery and everything was back on schedule. The experiments were making progress at last and soon he would have everything he needed to destroy the heroes and build a new society from the rubble. Tomura, I hope you have good news for me. He said, seeing that his student had returned. I tracked down the quirks you wanted. Tomura replied. That's good, but I was hoping for news about my son. All for One was trying to be patient, but Tomura's obvious lack of concern for Izuku's safety and return was beginning to get on his nerves. Well, there is news, but I don't think you'll like it. What is it? All for One narrowed his eyes. See for yourself. Tomura turned to the small TV and tuned it on, pulling up a short clip from social media. 2 high school girls were filming themselves while visiting Mike Tower. All for One instantly tuned them out, focusing in on the child in the background of the video. He was accepting treats from the women behind the counter, chatting with them in a happy and familiar way. As the video continued, they were joined by a tall man. Even out of costume, he instantly recognized the man. All Might. All for One growled, clenching his fists. He'd known that All Might would keep Izuku close and they'd been keeping an extra eye on Might Tower since learning that Izuku was likely being kept by an employee, but this was something that had never crossed his mind. All Might picked Izuku up and gave him several kisses. Izuku squirmed and laughed and pushed him back until he stopped, only to give the kisses back. All Might tried to take the treats away, but both the secretaries and Izuku complained, so he stopped. Izuku was smiling at him, his face glowing as he started telling him something, and All Might was listening with a soft expression. All for One had finally seen enough. He crushed the TV set with a single first, steaming with anger. How dare you touch my little boy? He snarled. How dare you take him away from me, how dare you? He was so angry he could barely speak. You'll pay for this, All Might, so help me, I'll make you suffer for laying your hands on my baby. Let me guess, Tomura sounded bored already. You want me to hang around at Might Tower and find out where he lives so that you can go and rescue him. After a deep breath, All for One remained his composure. That won't be necessary, Tomura. I want you to gather up those quirks I asked for. And remember, I need them to be alive in order to harvest their quirks. I'm going to find my baby boy by myself. Izuku, I have a surprise for you today. Toshi told him. What kind of surprise? Izuku looked around. Do I get to meet more heroes today? Not exactly. Toshi did his best not to smile. Here we are, let's go inside. Where are we? Izuku looked around and his jaw dropped. Puppies. That's right, they're all rescues. I thought that you might be able to sleep better if you had someone with you. Really? Izuku had never looked so excited. Do I get to pick one out myself? The name and everything. That's right. Toshi gave him a nudge. Go and find the one you want to take home. It took Izuku a long time to look at all of the dogs. Toshi knew that he was carefully analyzing each dog, stressing over which would be the perfect one. The attendant happily answered his dozens and dozens of questions until Izuku finally grabbed Toshi's hand and dragged him to one of the kennels. Can we get this one? He begged. This is the one. Toshi asked and Izuku nodded. It was a young dog, no longer a puppy, but he could tell that she still had some growing to do. Her fur was a soft golden color, brushed into shiny locks. Toshi figured that she must be a recent rescue, due to the thinness of her coat and her skinny body. Floppy ears, a long tongue, a happy tail, 2 different colored eyes, she looked sweet. Her old family was mean to her and so the heroes took her away, just like me. And she's a mutt, that means that she's a whole bunch of different kinds of dogs mixed into one kinda like your quirk. She's really nice and she knows lots of tricks and she even looks like you. Toshi laughed. She's perfect. What should we name her? All Might. Izuku blurted, then quickly covered his mouth. Oh wait, we can't name her that. He started mumbling to himself, worriedly trying to come up with a new name for the puppy. Listening to him run through all the heroes and quirks and special moves he knew, Toshi offered a gentle suggestion. How about Hero? That's it. Izuku's eyes sparkled. It's perfect. All right, you stay here and get to know Hero while I go and sign the paperwork. Toshi rubbed Izuku's curls. Then we can go and pick her out a collar and a leash and everything else she'll need. Toshi lay awake in bed, listening for sounds of trouble. It was strange. One of the reasons he decided to adopt Hero was to help Izuku sleep better and to act as an alarm if anything were to happen during the night, but now that he didn't have to stay awake waiting for Izuku to wake up again, he missed it. Even now he was still up, anxious of anything that might put his son in danger. Izuku had been sleeping better ever since Hero had come to live with them and it was rare for him to come into Toshi's room in the middle of the night to sleep with him. Now that Izuku was sleeping better, Toshi couldn't seem to rest well without him. He thought about getting up to check on Izuku again, but made himself stay in bed. Hero had been well trained to alert him of anything that might put Izuku in danger. He needed to go to sleep so that he could be well rested for the manhunt in the morning. All for One had become active again, drawing a great deal of attention to himself. That wasn't normal, it had to be a trap. Toshi was willing to take the bait if it meant that he could get rid of the man once and for all. Then both he and Izuku would have no trouble sleeping anymore. Toshi closed his eyes, then felt a small tug on his sleeve. He must have dozed off while thinking about All for One. Aizu! He groaned, turning over and squinting in the dark. What's wrong? Hero had a bad dream. Izuku whispered. Toshi could hear Hero breathing happily by his side. She wants to know if we can sleep with you tonight. A bad dream. Toshi propped himself and rubbed his eyes. About what? Well, Hero was dreaming about her old family and how they used to hit her and be mean to her and how she doesn't ever want to see them again. Now she can't go back to sleep, even though I'm here to help her. Poor girl. Toshi reached down to pet Hero's head and she liked his hand, tail swishing. Well, you'd better bring her up here with you. Izuku climbed onto the bed and over Toshi, Hero hopping up after him. Toshi held the covers up for him to clip under, while Hero curled herself up on their feet. Izuku snuggled into bed and Toshi settled beside him. Aizu! he asked after a moment. Was Hiro the only one who had a bad dream? Izuku squirmed. Well, maybe I had one too. About Daddy and Tomura. Were you scared? Izuku nodded. But you had Hiro to protect you. I know. Izuku answered, sliding closer to him. But I wanted you. Toshi smiled and kissed his forehead. I was starting to get jealous, you know. Ever since Hiro came along, you've been giving so much of your love to her. Sometimes I think that I don't want anyone else to get your love, I want you all to myself. He pulled Izuku close and tickled him, making Izuku kick and squeal. "En no fair daddy." Toshi laughed as well and released him. But that wouldn't be right, so I guess I can share you with Hiro. What about Uncle Sasaki and Grandpa Torino? Well, I guess I can share you with them. But what about Uncle Naomasa and Big Sis Makoto? Them too, I suppose. Misha and Reddy. Of course they are fine. Okay, but what about Big Sister Kiyoma? Uncle Hisashi? Uncle Shota? Well, I don't know about them. And how about Shoto? Kaken? All my friends at school. And my teacher. Hey now, that's too many people. Toshi said in mock sternness, and Izuku giggled. He gave a dramatic sigh and went on, but if you love them, then I guess I'll have to share. After all, someday when you're a hero I'll have to share you with the entire world. But Daddy, no matter what, I love you the most out of anyone. Anyone. In the entire world. Well, maybe not Hiro, but everyone else. You'll always be my favorite no matter what. Is it because I'm All Might? He teased. Izuku shook his head. All Might is my favorite hero, but you're my favorite daddy. Even if you had to stop being All Might, I would still love you forever and ever. That's a long time. Toshi said softly. But I think I can love you even longer. That's not fair. Izuku yawned and closed his eyes. It's because you're a hero. No, it's because I'm your daddy. Toshi replied as Izuku fell asleep. Toshi looked down to Hiro, who was softly thumping her tail against the mattress. You go to sleep too now, young lady. You don't have to worry about any bad dreams because I'm here. I'll keep you and Izuku safe. Hiro lay her head down as if she understood perfectly what he was saying, her tail thumping harder against the bed a few times before she settled down. Toshi lay awake for a few minutes more. Even with the threat of All for One hanging heavily over them, he couldn't think of a time in his life when he'd been happier. He gave Izuku a soft kiss, careful not to wake him, and whispered gently to his dreams. I love you, Izuku. More than anything. I love you. Izuku, Hiro, time for breakfast. Toshi called. Izuku had gotten up early to play with Hiro before school. He and Hiro came skidding into the kitchen together, wearing matching blue and red capes. Izuku climbed into his chair, while Hiro sat patiently by her bowls, tail thumping loudly. What time will you be done with hero work? Izuku asked. Hopefully not too late. Toshi replied. It feels like all the villains have been causing problems for the heroes lately. Is it my daddy? Toshi gave him a reassuring smile and rubbed his head. I don't think your daddy is into bank robberies and street fights. Okay. Izuku looked relieved. Here you go, Hiro. Good girl. Toshi filled her bowl and scratched her ears. Can I take Hiro to the park today with Grandpa Torino? Izuku asked. Toshi hesitated. I want you to stay home for a little bit. With all these villains running around, even if they don't have anything to do with your daddy, I'd rather keep you safe. Okay. Izuku sounded disappointed, but Toshi knew he understood. You'll still have fun with Grandpa Torino and Hiro here though, won't you? He'll be here as soon as you get home from school. Who is walking me home today? I wish it was me. Toshi tapped his nose and Izuku laughed. I asked Kaken's mother if she would make sure you got home safe and they agreed. I thought you didn't like Kaken. I don't like the way he treats you. Toshi agreed. But his mother is very nice. Kaken is just a big baby. He thinks his quirk makes him better than everyone else, but someday he's going to run into someone who's bigger and smarter and stronger than him. Izuku, if he ever hurts you. Toshi began. I'm not scared of him. Izuku interrupted. Kaken is mean sometimes, like when he tells me that I can't be a hero or when he calls me Deku, but I don't listen to him because I know he's wrong. I'm not useless and I am going to be a hero someday. Izuku reached over and grabbed Tosh's face. It's okay, Daddy. He laughed. If he ever really does hurt my feelings, I'll tell you. I promise. Toshi sighed. Sometimes you're such a big boy. Listen, even if he doesn't hurt your feelings, I want you to tell me if he hurts anyone else's feelings, okay? A good hero helps other people out when they're sad or hurt, even if it isn't any of their business. Understand? Okay. Izuku nodded. Finish eating, I'll go and get your backpack. Oh. Izuku called after him. I have a surprise for when you get home. I'm going to finish it in class today. I can't wait. Toshi set Izuku's All Might backpack down next to the door. What jacket do you want to wear today? My All Might jacket. Aizu, all of your jackets are All Might jackets. Izuku ran over to the closet and pointed. That one. The one that Makoto and Naomasa gave me. Toshi pulled it down and helped Izuku with slipping his arms through. Put your shoes on. Can Hiro walk with us? Not today, I have to go straight to work after I drop you off and I don't think she would like Might Tower very much. Of course she would. Yes, but she likes seeing you even more. If she comes to work with me, then she won't be here to see you when you get home. Okay, fine. Be a good girl, okay Hiro. I'll be home soon. Izuku gave her a hug and she liked his face. Ready to go. Got your phone and your keys. Izuku nodded and took Tosh's hand, waving to Hiro before they left. I'm ready, let's go. Are you sure you don't want us to come inside with you? Mitsuki asked as Izuku unlocked his door. It's okay, Grandpa Torino is here today. Izuku threw the door open and called in. I'm home. He was immediately knocked to the ground by Hiro, pinning him to the ground and liking his face. Hiro, no. Izuku laughed, trying to push her off. Hiro looked up and saw Mitsuki and Kaken and she quickly jumped off of Izuku, placing herself between him and the strangers and growling. No. Izuku grabbed her neck and pulled her back, scolding her. These are friends, Hiro. Friends. He used his hand to make the sign that Toshi had taught her for friends, people that she was allowed to take down her guard with. Hiro quickly stopped growling, wagging her tail instead. Sorry. Izuku apologized. She's a guard dog, so she doesn't like new people. What a good girl. Mitsuki praised, scratching Hiro's ears. Kaken glared at Izuku as he picked himself up off the ground, hiding halfway behind his mother's leg. When Izuku smiled at him, he stuck his tongue out. Can we go now? Be nice. Mitsuki told him. Say goodbye to Izuku first. Don't wanna. Kaken crossed his arms and turned away, nose in the air. Mitsuki grabbed Kaken's ear. Tell your friend Izuku goodbye and that you'll see him tomorrow at school. Oh. Kaken wiggled free, pouting. He gave Izuku another glare. See you tomorrow, Deku. Bye Kaken. Izuku waved, smiling back. See you tomorrow. Thanks for walking me home, Mrs. Bakugo. He went inside and could hear Mitsuki scolding Kaken on their way back down the hallway. Grandpa Torino, I'm home. Izuku called as he slipped his shoes off. Grandpa, are you sleeping? Izuku wandered through the house, looking for Torino. That's funny, Hiro. Is he not here yet? Hiro wagged her tail at her name and tried to jump on Izuku again. No, down. Izuku laughed. I guess he's not. Daddy did say that he would get here the same time as me, something must have held him up. He probably ran into a Hiro problem on the way here and had to stop and help, or maybe there was a problem with the train. Right girl. Hiro barked in reply. They walked into the living room and Izuku dropped his backpack by the couch. He dug through it until he found what he was looking for. Daddy is going to love this. Izuku showed Hiro the picture he'd drawn. What do you think? Hiro jumped and barked, bouncing around in a circle after her tail. You just want to play. 𝐒𝐿 laughed and set the picture down on the coffee table. But you'll have to wait for Grandpa 𝐒𝐿 to get here. He would be sad if we started without him. Sitting on the floor, 𝐒𝐿 could feel the warm rays of light from the afternoon sun shining through the window. The floor felt so cozy. Hiro had the same idea, laying down and stretching out. 𝐒𝐿 yawned and stretched. I guess we can take a nap till Grandpa gets here. But just a little one, otherwise we'll keep Daddy up all night. He lay down on top of Hiro and closed his eyes, listening to the ticking of the clock and waiting to hear the door unlock. It was so warm and Hiro's fur was so soft. After not sleeping well that night, 𝐒𝐿 quickly found himself drifting off to sleep. He just hoped that 𝐒𝐿 and Toshi would be home soon. He missed them. All Might was exhausted, as were all the pros. From the moment he dropped 𝐒𝐿 off for school, he'd done nothing but chase down one villain after another. He did his best to stay close to home, but the villains kept drawing him farther and farther from Might Tower. All types of villains, large and small, were crawling out of the woodwork and throwing themselves in the hero's way. The police could barely keep up with the arrests, not to mention the breakouts that were in progress as well. Something about this isn't right, Sir Night Eye said as they pushed back the latest wave of villains. They could already see them beginning to regroup down the street. I agree. All Might clenched his fists. He wanted to wrap this up as soon as possible so that he could go home to 𝐒𝐿. He knew that 𝐒𝐿 and Hiro were watching over him so he would be safe, but after such a long day he missed his son. But what are they after? All Might's phone started to ring and he checked to see who was calling. 𝐒𝐿. It must be about 𝐒𝐿. He glanced at Night Eye who nodded for him to take the call while he kept an eye on the villains. Hello. Is everything all right with 𝐒𝐿? 𝐒𝐿 coughed on the other end. Toshi, listen, he didn't sound well. In fact, he sounded awful. What's wrong? What happened? All Might asked quickly, drawing a worried glance from Night Eye. Forget about me, I'll be fine, attacked on my way. 𝐒𝐿 coughed and choked again. 𝐒𝐿, you have to hurry, you're not with him. All Might felt sick now, ready to pass out. Oh no. No, 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 no. Night Eye looked away, already having guessed what was happening. Go, I'll send help. As All Might raced through the city, leaping buildings and flying over the streets, he cursed himself over and over in his mind. This had been All for One's plan all along. He'd thought that knowing he was walking into the trap would allow him to turn the tables on his nemesis. But instead of coming after All Might to try and find out where 𝐒𝐿 was, All for One had known the whole time. Everything had just been a distraction. All for One had set the stage, and All Might had played his part perfectly. Reaching home, All Might found the door still locked. Was that a good thing? Without worrying about the damage, he broke the door open, snapping through the deadbolt and chain. 𝐒𝐿! He shouted, rushing into the apartment. There were 𝐒𝐿's shoes, not put away like they should be, just like every time he came home. 𝐒𝐿, where are you? Hiro was sleeping on the floor in the living room and 𝐒𝐿's backpack was beside her. 𝐒𝐿! All Might shouted, louder this time. Hiro startled awake at his voice and started barking, following him as he ran from one end of the apartment to the other. He checked the kitchen, 𝐒𝐿's room, the bathroom, his own room, his cries growing more frantic with every empty room he faced. No, 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 no. 𝐒𝐿! 𝐒𝐿! He stopped short in the living room as a cold blanket settled over his heart. He looked down at Hiro as the cold feeling spread across his body, making him numb. He isn't here. He's gone. His legs gave out and he fell to the floor. Hiro tucked her tail and edged closer, sensing that something was wrong. She whined and nudged All Might's arm but he didn't notice her. Through his hazy vision, All Might saw a paper on the coffee table. He recognized it as one of 𝐒𝐿's hero analyses and absently picked it. This one was different from 𝐒𝐿's regular hero pages. It showed him wearing his regular suit instead of his hero costume and was titled at the top, My Favorite Hero. All Might read through the labels on the picture, his eyes filling with tears with each word. Daddy's hair, super silly, makes me happy. Daddy's brain, very smart. Daddy always knows what to do. Daddy's eyebrows, makes worried faces when he thinks I'm not looking. Daddy's eyes, always looking for danger. They get brighter when he laughs. Daddy's mouth, only says nice things. Always smiling. Daddy's shoulders, good for sleeping on. Daddy's arms, super strong. Always gives me big hugs and never lets go first. Daddy's heart, huge and full of love. Daddy's legs, can carry me anywhere I want to go. Daddy's shoes, he lets me tie them for practice. Hero whined again and tried to like All Might's face as he broke down into sobs. He could hear Izuku's voice clearly, echoing back from breakfast. I have a surprise for when you get home. I'm going to finish it in class today. This is all my fault. I promised him, I promised both of you. Please, just let this be a bad dream. If it were a bad dream, he would wake up with Izuku safe beside him. Then he could just hug his little boy tightly and fall right back to sleep and everything would be all right. But things weren't all right. Izuku wasn't there, he wasn't safe, and this wasn't a dream. Izuku was gone. All for One cradled Izuku on his lap, leaning back in his seat and happily humming to himself. Izuku shifted and rolled over, twitching in his sleep. All for One smiled, wondering what Izuku could be dreaming about. He started tracing his finger over Izuku's round cheeks, drawing lines between his freckles. Izuku ummed and turned away, mumbling and trying to brush his hand away. So cute, it made him want to tickle him some more. Daddy, stop it. Izuku whined, squirming and squeezing his eyes shut. Let me sleep. All for One chuckled and gently pinched Izuku's cheek. Nai, Izuku whined again, his eyes finally starting to flutter open. Daddy, you're so cute, Aizu. Izuku's eyes opened, squinting at the light. He rubbed them for a moment, then peeked over his hands. All for One felt him stiffen with surprise. Daddy. That's right. All for One bent down and rubbed their noses together, then kissed each of his cheeks. Why? Izuku stuttered, squeezing his hands close to his chest. Why are you here? Why wouldn't I be here? Izuku looked around, his breathing getting shallow. Where are we? Where's Hero and All Might? Ignoring his second question, All for One stood and carried Izuku to the window. This is our new home. Doesn't it have a pretty view? You know, your mommy and I used to go to the beach together a lot, Izuku whimpered, looking out the window at the foreign landscape, the thick forest and the picturesque sandy white beach just beyond it. His eyes darted back and forth, scanning the trees and waves. There were no roads or buildings visible, no boats on the horizon, only the wild countryside. Do you like it? Your room has a pretty view just like this. My room. Izuku repeated weakly. Do you want to see it? Daddy has been working hard to get it ready for you. You're going to love it. All for One walked them away from the widow and out of his office. Izuku's room was right next door, set to unlock with his fingerprint. What do you think? He asked as he stepped inside and set Izuku down. Izuku took half a step back, arms still tight to his chest. He looked back and forth, his small body shaking. He must be excited. All for One gave him a nudge and he stumbled forward into the room a few steps. All for One beamed at him, feeling deeply pleased with himself. I made sure everything was just the way you like it. Izuku looked back over his shoulder. I have to stay here. Do you like it? Izuku looked back to the room, filled with all the toys and activities he would ever need, then dropped to the ground and started sobbing. Izuku, what's wrong? All for One bent down next to him. If there's something you don't like, I can fix it for you. No. Izuku bawled, shaking his head and rubbing the thick tears from his cheeks as they poured from his eyes. Daddy, I don't want Why Did You Dash. I want All Might. But, Izuku sweetie, I gave you All Might. See, I know how much you like him, so I bought you all of his toys and his posters and dash no. Izuku said again. I want the real All Might. Take me back. Izuku dash All for One pulled him into a hug and Izuku screamed, pushing him away. Take me back. Take you back. All for One repeated, a cold edge creeping into his voice. Izuku, aren't you happy to see me? Don't you want to live with your daddy? Izuku shuddered and covered his mouth with both hands. He was still crying and shaking, but seemed to be trying to stop himself. He shook his head, still whimpering through his hands. I missed you so much, Izuku. You're making Daddy sad, saying that you don't like the special room I made for you. Aren't you happy to be home, baby? Didn't you miss me? He pulled Izuku's hands away from his mouth, releasing his sobs once more, and hugged him close to his chest. But I loved living with All Might. Izuku sobbed in his ear. I was happy there. No, Aizu, you weren't happy. All for One rubbed his back. He tricked you, all those awful heroes did. They just wanted to use you to hurt me, they didn't really care about you. Not like I do. They could never love you or care for you as much as your daddy does. And no. Izuku shook his head. He did love me, he did. All Might wouldn't lie. Oh dear, you're still so confused. Don't worry, you're safe now. No one is ever going to hurt you or take you away from me again. Izuku sobbed harder. His time with the heroes must have been very frightening and disorienting for him to be acting this way still. All for One wondered if he should use his newly acquired sleeping quirk again to calm his son down, but decided against it. Instead, he picked Izuku up again and carried him to the biggest bean-bag chair to snuggle. Before his kidnapping, Izuku had always begged to sit on his lap or hold his hand, so holding him should have been enough to relax him. All for One rocked Izuku in his arms and made soft, soothing sounds. Izuku cried until he couldn't breathe, but even then he continued choking and gasping for breath. After a great deal of coaxing, All for One finally managed to calm him into small gasps and hiccups. It's okay, Aizu. All for One kissed the top of his head. Were you scared? Izuku gave a jerky nod in reply. He wouldn't look at him, he kept his bloodshot eyes fixed on a distant, unidentifiable point in the room. I'm so sorry I made you wait for so long. All for One cuddled him closer. But you're here now, everything is okay. And now that you're here, I finally have time to play with you like you're always asking. We can color together, or watch a movie, or we could play a game, or I could help you look at all of your new toys. What do you want to do? I want to go home. Izuku hiccuped. I know you're confused, sweetie, but our old home was destroyed. This is where we live now. It may take some time to get used to, but you're going to love it here. Izuku rubbed his sore eyes and let out a small sob. I want mommy. All for One sighed heavily. I thought you were finally over that. Your mommy isn't here anymore, baby. It's just you and me now. I want. Izuku shook his head, new tears appearing on his cheeks again. I want. He didn't seem to know what he wanted. Sure. How about we just stay here together? Izuku shook his head again. I want Daddy to go back to work. Daddy's work is always more important than me. No, Aizu, you don't understand. Daddy's work is important, but it's only because of you. I have to work hard so that you can be safe, but today I don't have any work to do. Today I'm only spending time with you. Izuku didn't answer him this time. Instead, he curled up and covered his ears with his hands. He closed his eyes and turned into All for One's arms, holding as still as he could. All for One smiled and pulled him in, giving him another kiss before settling back in his seat. Now that he had Izuku again, he could finally relax. Things were back as they should be, and now he would finally be able to focus on his work now that his little boy was home and safe. He had his Izuku back and he wasn't ever going to lose him again. Toshi, it's been a week since you've slept. Sasaki put a firm but gentle hand on his arm. I know how you're feeling because we all feel the same, but you won't be able to help if you keep going like this. Toshinori, carrying deep black bags under each eye in contrast to his pale skin, didn't listen to Sasaki. His attention was focused on a slightly crumpled, tear-stained drawing in his hands. Sasaki sighed and carefully pulled it away from him. Toshi, please. You're exhausted, you're making us worried. How am I supposed to sleep? Toshi asked in a hollow voice, staring at his hands where the paper had been. Izuku is missing, he's with that villain and it's all my fault. For the last time, this wasn't your fault. We all blame ourselves as much as you do, but that man would have found a way to take him no matter what. But if I hadn't adopted him, if I hadn't tried to take care of him, I promised that I would protect him. I should have been there. He's probably so scared right now. He's never going to forgive me, He probably won't ever want to see me again. Toshi! Sasaki finally got his full attention. How much do you love Izuku? More than anything in the world. And Izuku feels the same way about you. Once we find him, he's never going to let go of you again. But, to be honest, if he could see how you look right now, you might scare him a little. He's going to think that you're sick or dying or something. I've tried, I can't sleep. Toshi shook his head and rubbed his eyes. Even with Hiro, I can't sleep knowing that he's in danger. Every second we're apart brings us one step closer to never seeing each other again. We're going to find him. I promise. Sasaki took both of Toshi's hands and gave them a squeeze. So you lay down here for a few minutes, and when I come back, I'll have some good news for you. Toshi wanted to argue, even though he knew that his sidekick was right. He lay down on the couch and closed his eyes. His grateful body immediately put him to sleep, earning a grateful sigh from Sasaki before he left the room. Unfortunately, Toshi's dreams did not treat him as well. No matter how fast he ran, he could never reach Izuku before he was swallowed up by the massive jaws of an unseen monster. He could hear All For One's voice echoing around him, laughing at him as he struggled to grab Izuku before it was too late. Every time, he could see Izuku's mouth open to scream, but no sound came out. Then he was gone. Toshi jerked upright with a gasp, his body soaked in sweat. Glancing at the clock, he saw that he'd been asleep for nearly 45 minutes, nowhere near long enough to make up for the nights he'd stayed up worrying. With a heavy groan, he leaned forward and put his head in his hands, elbows resting on his knees, and listened to his racing heart. Was Izuku having nightmares too? How was he going to get enough sleep without Hiro there to help him? Did he have a nightlight? Was he wearing thick enough pajamas for the fall weather? Izuku, I'm so sorry. He mumbled. I'm going to find you, I'm going to save you, I promise. Please, just stay safe until I can get to you. Izuku pressed his hands and nose against the cold window. It had been a full week since he'd been taken away from All Might, and the leaves of the trees were starting to change from green to orange and yellow. It was a appealing view, set against the white sand and crystal blue water of the ocean, but it wasn't one that Izuku wanted to see a second longer. He wanted to get out of this room that he'd been trapped in all week. He wanted to run away, but he didn't know how. Behind him, Izuku heard the door opening and quickly turned around to see who it was. He was partially relieved to see that it was only Kurogi bringing him lunch. He didn't really like Kurogi, but at least the man wasn't mean like Tomura was. Not to say that he was very nice either, but he always did what All For One told him to. Come and eat, Kurogi said, setting the tray of food down on the table by the bed. You won't like it once it's cold. Izuku turned back to the window. I'm not hungry. You barely touched your breakfast, you must be hungry. It's your favorite. That's what I had yesterday, and the day before that. Izuku pouted, leaning into the window again. Daddy All Might says that you should eat lots of different things to be healthy. Would you like me to make you something else? No, I said I'm not hungry. Kurogi stared at him for a moment. Is there something wrong? I'm fine, just go away. Izuku curled his fingers into fists against the window. Kurogi didn't argue. He stepped over to the door and held his hand on the handle for a moment. Izuku carefully watched the reflection in the glass. Only All For One was able to come and go freely from the room. Everyone else would have their fingerprints scanned, then a notification would be sent to All For One, who would allow the door to be opened. Somehow it also worked for Kurogi, even though he didn't have real hands. After just a moment, the door opened and Kurogi stepped out. Izuku hopped down from the window and ran over to the door. He held his breath and grabbed hold of the door handle. He waited, but it didn't unlock. Disappointed, Izuku slowly walked back to the window. He looked at the desk and pulled out his secret project from under the papers. It was a map to send to All Might so that he would know where to find him when he came to rescue him. So far it only had 2 rooms, Izuku's and All For One's study next door. Looking at it now made him feel discouraged. How was this going to help All Might? And how was he going to send it to him even if he did manage to complete it? He looked out the window again. The window was built into the side of a large cliff, the tops of the trees far below them. He'd thought about breaking the window and climbing down, but the wind would pull him right off the wall. He didn't have enough blankets and sheets to form a rope long enough to get him down either. The only vents in the room were in the ceiling beyond his reach. If he was going to escape on his own, it had to be through the door. Ignoring the food, Izuku started drawing again. He'd gotten a lot of practice while he was at school and tutoring with Makoto, so his pictures and writing had improved. He missed going to school and seeing his friends, learning new things. Without realizing it, Izuku had used the red, yellow, and blue crayons to draw All Might in his hero costume. Next to him, he drew Hero with her blue and brown eyes and her big tongue smiling like All Might. On All Might's other side, he started to draw himself, then stopped. He missed All Might so much, it hurt thinking about all the happy times they'd shared together. It was only noon, but Izuku wanted to curl up in bed and never wake up again. Not until All Might came for him. But All Might should have found him by now. It had been a whole week. All for One must have done a good job with their hiding place. Turning away from his crayons, Izuku looked around the room for something else to keep his mind busy. All Might was everywhere, looking back at him. Before, Izuku had been fine playing by himself. He'd been able to entertain himself with his toys for hours and days and weeks. Now, after having lived with All Might and gone to school, he felt lonely. He wished that he had someone to play with him, Kaken or Shoto or All Might. All for One had given him an entire shelf of games and puzzles, but none of them would be any fun to play alone. Izuku felt tears building up in his eyes and hurried to wipe them away. All for One didn't like to see him crying when there was nothing wrong. If he found out that Izuku was lonely, he would probably send Tomura or Kurogi in to entertain him, and that was the last thing that Izuku wanted. In the end, he pulled out one of the puzzles and spread it out across the floor. He had it nearly put together when the door opened that night. "Aizu, why didn't you eat your lunch?" All for One asked, looking down at the untouched food as he swapped it out for dinner. Izuku hurried to his feet and stuck his hands behind his back, even though he had nothing to hide. I wasn't hungry." Well then I guess you'll be hungry enough to eat all of your dinner today. Come and sit down." Izuku slowly climbed into the chair, wishing that All for One wouldn't watch him so closely. He squirmed, looking down at the hot meal. His stomach churned and he pulled back. "My tummy hurts." "That's because you're hungry. Do you want me to feed it to you?" "No. I'm not a baby." Izuku's cheeks flushed and he looked up at his father for the first time. All for One laughed. "But you'll always be my baby." Izuku picked up his fork and took a big bite so he wouldn't have to answer. He ate as fast as he could while his father smiled patiently without saying a word. "I'm all done." Izuku held the empty bowl out. Eating so fast really did make him feel sick. "Good, now it's time to get you ready for bed." "I can do it by myself," Izuku told him, jumping down from his chair and hurrying out of reach. He bathed and brushed his teeth as quickly as he could, changing into his pajamas before coming back out. All for One was drawing the curtains over the window when he emerged. "Why you don't have to tuck me in?" Izuku said as he crawled into bed and under the covers. "But you always used to beg me to be the one to do it." All for One smiled and leaned over him, tucking him in anyways. He gave Izuku several kisses across his cheeks and forehead, only stopping when Izuku ducked under his covers to escape. "I'll sit with you until you fall asleep too." "That's okay." Izuku squirmed away from him as he sat on the bed beside him. "I'm big enough to fall asleep all by myself now." It was only partly true. Izuku could fall asleep without All Might in the room with him, but only if he was still in the house and if Hero was in bed with him. If he had a babysitter, they had to hold his hand until he fell asleep, but All for One didn't need to know that. "I have time." All for One gently brushed Izuku's hair with his fingertips. Izuku forced himself to endure it for a moment, then dove fully under the covers to protect himself. He didn't like it when All for One touched him. All he could think about was how many people those hands had hurt and that maybe, if he did something wrong, All for One might use those hands to hurt him too. "Aizu, baby, what's wrong?" All for One tried to coax him out. Izuku kept the covers tight over his head and used the pillow as a shield for good measure. "I'm just too sleepy." "It's okay, just go to sleep then." All for One instead rubbed Izuku's back and shoulders, ignoring the way that 𝐒𝐿𝐿 squirmed away from him. "Guess what? I'm going to come and play with you tomorrow. We can do whatever you want." 𝐒𝐿𝐿 carefully peeked out from under the pillow. "See, can we go outside? To the park? I want to play with other kids." If they went to the park, then maybe he could find a way to get a message to All Might. And it wasn't a complete lie. 𝐒𝐿𝐿 loved going to the park to play with the other children he met there. "𝐒𝐿𝐿, there isn't a park around for at least 100 miles. Besides, wouldn't you rather play with me? We can go down to the beach if you want, just the two of us." 𝐒𝐿𝐿 pulled the pillow down again. Maybe he could send a message in a bottle at the beach. But that would never work. "No, I want to stay here." He tried to go to sleep quickly so that All for One would leave. Instead, he stayed awake longer and longer, squirming under the sheets. Eventually, after he was able to hold still long enough, he felt All for One get off the bed and leave. 𝐒𝐿𝐿 waited for several minutes after he heard the door close before he pulled his head out and gasped for breath. Tiptoeing out of bed, 𝐒𝐿𝐿 picked up as many of his All Might dolls as he could and carried them over to the bed. He carefully arranged them into a nest and then crawled inside. He picked up his favorite All Might doll, one with a voice box, and held it close. "Daddy, I miss you." He kissed the doll's cheek. "I still love you the most out of anyone. Tell Hero that I miss her too, and Grandpa Torino and Uncle Sasaki and all the others. I miss all of you, but you and Hero the most." 𝐒𝐿𝐿 took a deep breath and whispered into the doll's ear. "Daddy, I'm actually really scared." He pressed the doll's belly and heard its reply. "Don't be afraid, do you know why? It's because I am here." Hearing the recording of All Might's voice helped to settle 𝐒𝐿𝐿's nerves. He pressed it again. "I am here." Over and over until his eyes were drooping and he was falling asleep at last. "Daddy, guess what? Tomorrow I'm going to trick him into letting me out of here and I'm going to try and run away. And if I don't get out, then I can at least finish your map. I'll be brave so that I can see you again soon. I am here." The doll answered again and 𝐒𝐿𝐿 smiled. He closed his eyes and fell asleep, the hope of seeing All Might again drowning out all his other fears. 𝐒𝐿𝐿 didn't hear All for One come up behind him and screamed when he was scooped up into his arms. How could such a big man move so quietly? All Might always made lots of noise when they were playing hide and seek and was careful not to sneak up on 𝐒𝐿𝐿 and scare him. "You can't catch me," 𝐒𝐿𝐿 cried. "It's no fair. So I chase you but I can't catch you." All for One chuckled. "So then how do we know when the game is over?" "I'll catch you," 𝐒𝐿𝐿 blurted, wiping his eyes. "So I chase you, but you catch me. Stop repeating me," 𝐒𝐿𝐿 shouted. Okay. All for One laughed again and held his hands up in surrender. "So are we going to play tag then?" 𝐒𝐿𝐿 crossed his arms and pouted. "There's nowhere to run. Why don't we go downstairs then? I have a big room with lots and lots of space for you to run." "I want to go," 𝐒𝐿𝐿 said quickly, turning back. "Anything to get out of this room, for a chance to escape." "Come on then." All for One took 𝐒𝐿𝐿's hand and 𝐒𝐿𝐿 pulled it away without thinking. "Oops, I forgot. You're supposed to catch me." He held his hand out again, waiting for 𝐒𝐿𝐿 to take it. Instead, 𝐒𝐿𝐿 timidly wrapped his fingers around the fabric of his sleeve and they set off. There weren't many doors that 𝐒𝐿𝐿 could see on his floor and they were all closed. Before he could get a good look, they were walking down a set of stairs. This floor had lots of long, branching hallways and doors. Everything was white except the floor, which was a shiny, dark gray. Their footsteps echoed and 𝐒𝐿𝐿 quickly lost track of the lefts and rights they took. Were they going in circles? Everything looked the exact same. It was only when 𝐒𝐿𝐿 saw another set of stairs out of the corner of his eye that he let go of his father's sleeve and ran. "𝐒𝐿𝐿!" All for One shouted after him. He sounded angry and 𝐒𝐿𝐿 ran faster. He could hear his father's long legs coming after him. He jumped down the stairs, scraping his knees and hands. He barely felt the sting as he scrambled to his feet once more, circling deeper and deeper down the stairs until All for One was out of sight. He picked a floor at random and left the stairs behind, hoping that he would be able to find them again. The way out had to be down, somewhere at the base of the cliff. This floor looked the same as the one he was on before, white walls and dark floors, but it didn't have as many doors. Izuku ran until he was out of breath and could no longer hear his father's shouting. This place was big and he suddenly felt alone and afraid. How was he going to find his way out? Izuku shook his head and squared his shoulders. He wasn't giving up, not when he'd come this far. He was going to find a way out and then he was going home to All Might. Izuku wandered and wandered through the endless halls. Eventually, he found stairs again and started walking down them. After dozens of floors, they came to a stop. Had he reached the ground at last? It was darker here with fewer lights and heavier doors. It was cold too, and Izuku found himself shivering after just a minute of venturing into the dark hallway. And it wasn't just the cold that had him shaking. Low scraping sounds and grunts echoed from distant hallways. As Izuku walked past one door, he heard a shuffling sound. It didn't sound like an animal, but nothing about it felt human either. Like ice poured down the back of his shirt, the chill that Izuku received let him know that this was not the way out and that he had to leave. Izuku spun around but the stairs were gone. When had he lost sight of them? His heart started racing, loud enough for whatever was behind the doors to hear it. Izuku covered his mouth to hide his breathing and looked around. He had to find a way out. There must be a way. Walking on tiptoes, Izuku continued down the hallway, this time keeping track of any turns he made in the hopes that he wouldn't get any more lost. He saw a strange light at the end of one of the hallways and moved towards it. It led into a larger room with a high ceiling. The room was even darker than the hallway with large pipes and tubes hanging from the ceiling and bending around the room. Izuku couldn't make out what the other large shapes in the room were. He could see a door on the far end of the room and was slowly making his way towards it. Izuku turned to look at one of the large glass pipes as he got close to it. It was massive, reaching from floor to ceiling, and was wide enough to fit a car inside. Only a small portion of the glass was lit and Izuku found himself leaning in to see if he could see anything inside. As Izuku's face came closer to the glass, he saw something move on the other side. It was the size of a horse with rough black skin, lanky arms that brushed the ground, and animal-like haunches. The head seemed cartoonishly small for the size of the body, sitting at the end of a long neck. The eyes and mouth were nearly hanging out of the skull, brain fully visible. As it leaned forward, both eyes swiveled around in the head and then fixed themselves on Izuku. Izuku screamed, his voice echoing loudly around the rafters. He stumbled back and bumped into someone human. Without thinking, he turned and grabbed them, still screaming. "Looks like you caught me, Aizu." All for One chuckled as he picked Izuku up and kissed his cheek. "How did you get all the way down here?" Izuku pushed away from the monster, unable to gather enough breath to scream again. He couldn't breathe at all, couldn't even formulate a thought over the sound of his beating heart. "Izuku! What's wrong?" All for One followed Izuku's wide eyes to the monster in the glass tube and smiled. "Oh dear, did Daddy's project scare you? It's okay, it won't hurt you." Izuku whimpered and pushed back as All for One stepped up to the glass and tapped a finger against it. "See? Daddy made them for you, to help keep you safe. Watch." All for One placed a palm to the glass and it opened into a large hold. He took Izuku's hand and started to pass it through, into the tube. Izuku shrieked and fought to pull his hand back. "Daddy, no. I don't want to touch it. It's scary, make it go away." "Say ah." All for One told the monster and it opened its wide jaws. Ignoring Izuku's screams and sobs, All for One stuck his and Izuku's hand inside the gaping mouth. "See? It can't hurt you, it's against its nature." "Daddy, stop." Izuku sobbed, turning his head away. "I don't like it, make it go away." "You don't like it." All for One released Izuku's hand and he quickly hid it from his father, holding it close to his chest. He shook his head, face buried in All for One's shoulder. "I can make it go away for you if you don't like it." All for One resealed the hole in the glass. A moment later, Izuku heard the sound of ice cream splattering on the floor and slowly turned back to see, but it wasn't ice cream splattered over the inside of the glass. Izuku felt dizzy and had to grab onto his father's shirt to keep himself from falling over. Why you killed it?" "It was scaring you." All for One shrugged. "Don't worry, Daddy has plenty of others. This one wasn't even one of the strong ones. The strong ones know how to talk. Like Kurogi. Maybe I should make them more like how I made Kurogi from now on. You like him, don't you? Izuku's eyes traveled around the room. His dizziness increased as he realized that the room was full of other tubes just like this one, each with their own monster inside. Unable to keep his head up any longer, he put it down on All for One's shoulder. Aizu, is everything all right? Upstairs. Izuku managed to squeak at last. I want to go upstairs and play a game with you. That sounds like fun. All for One agreed, rubbing his back and walking Izuku out of the monster room. Izuku kept his eyes closed so that he wouldn't see any more of the monsters. But the one monster that scared him the most was the one carrying him away, and after today, he didn't think that he would ever be able to get away from him. Izuku woke up screaming for the 4th time that night. He felt as though the sheets were trying to tie him up and drag him down the stairs to the cold dark room full of monsters. In the dark, every shape he saw was one of the creatures looming over him, watching him with their unlidded eyes, their tongues hanging out of their toothy faces. Izuku, you can't keep waking up like this. All for One said as he walked into the room. He sounded annoyed, flipping on the light to reveal the room empty of monsters. You need to go back to sleep. I don't want to. Izuku shouted. Don't make me. All for One sat on the bed and held his hand out to put Izuku to sleep like he had the other 3 times. Izuku knew the quirk he was going to use. It was one that he had used himself before its owner had been killed. He knew that if he was the user then it wouldn't affect him. Izuku grabbed his father's hand. He wanted it. He wanted to take the quirk away so that he wouldn't have to go to sleep again where the monsters were waiting. I said I don't want to. He screamed. All for One blinked in surprise as the quirk transferred between them. The surprise quickly faded, replaced by anger. He placed his hand on Izuku's forehead to take the quirk back, but Izuku didn't want to give it back. He resisted, twisting and trying to push his father's strong hand away. I don't want to. He repeated. Even as he said it, Izuku felt a shredding pain rip through his body from the top down. He hadn't wanted to let go of the sleeping gas quirk, but All for One had taken it anyways. After he remembered how to breathe, he was screaming again. That hurt, Daddy. Izuku. All for One cupped his face in his large hands. His voice was very low, deceivingly calm. Don't ever do that again. Okay. Izuku sobbed and weakly tried to push him away. Daddy, that hurt, it hurt. I'm scared, I want to go home. Those monsters are going to eat me. The gnomes are here to protect you, not eat you. It's scary. They are scary. I want All Might. Take me back, please. Take me back to All Might. Izuku wailed. That's enough, Izuku, go to sleep. I hate you. Izuku sobbed. Daddy, you never listen to me. It's scary and I want to go home. I said that's enough. All for One raised his voice, something Izuku had never heard him do before. Suddenly the monsters in the basement didn't seem like much of a threat compared to what was in front of him. Izuku swallowed his screams and hid under the sheets, whimpering and doing his best to keep from sobbing out loud. Aizu, I didn't mean to scare you. Don't hide from me, come out. No, Daddy's scary. Izuku, come here. I'm not going to hurt you, I could never hurt you, baby. All for One tugged on the covers until he managed to pull them away from Izuku's head. I'm sorry I yelled at you, that was a very bad thing for me to do. Will you forgive me? Izuku whimpered again and turned away. If he yelled again, he really would be in trouble. He still wanted All Might, even if All for One wasn't yelling anymore. He wanted All Might to hug him close and tell him that everything was okay because no matter what, he loved him more than anything in the world. He wanted to see Hero again, who would let him cry without trying to ask him what was wrong, who would always sit happily by his side no matter what kind of day he was having. Aizu, you know I love you, don't you? Daddy loves you more than anyone else does. Izuku glanced over at him. I still want All Might. That isn't fair, baby. All for One brushed his curls. I'm your daddy, I shouldn't have to share you. But I love him. He couldn't ever love you back as much as I do. Izuku didn't like his answer. He bit his lip and slid deeper into his covers. All for One was smiling at him, but it was the same smile as always. All for One only had one smile and it never changed no matter how happy or surprised or loving he claimed to be. It was one of the things that scared Izuku the most. "Can you turn on the TV?" Izuku asked, not daring to raise his voice above the softest whisper. "Izuku, it's late. I just want to watch All Might, then I'll go to sleep, I promise. Why, you can watch with me." Izuku slid over so that All for One had room to sit beside him after he had turned on the TV. Izuku could tell that he wasn't happy watching the interview, but he kept his arm around Izuku's shoulders and softly rubbed circles into his arm with his thumb. Izuku closed his eyes and listened to the sound of All Might's voice. If he concentrated hard enough, he could almost convince himself that it was All Might next to him instead of All for One. In the end, All Might's soothing voice lulled him to sleep and kept his dreams safe from the monsters in the basement. Izuku was building a sandcastle. The air was chilly and the water was cold, but he was happy to be outside after being trapped in his room for so long. He was starting to lose count of the days, but it had to have been at least 4 weeks since he'd last seen Hero and All Might. Izuku flipped over his bucket and paused to rub his eyes. He was tired since All for One had tried to put him to bed again. Izuku could never fall asleep when his father was there, only when he was alone and could cuddle with his All Might dolls and listen to All Might on the television. After rubbing his eyes for several minutes, Izuku turned and squinted at the bright ocean. He rarely saw any boats nearby, and if he did they were too far away for him to try and signal for help. Today he hadn't seen any distant ships, which was likely the reason that his father had allowed him to come out and play. Izuku turned back to his castle and carefully pulled his bucket up, leaving behind the final tower. Izuku started digging a moat around the castle, wishing that All Might was there to help him. Together they would have been able to build a much bigger sandcastle. Maybe All Might would have even let Izuku bury him all the way up to his neck like he'd seen in the movies. Then they could eat ice cream together and drive home while the sun was setting. It was a nice daydream. Izuku tried to think of some more things that he and All Might would do together once he came to save him. They would start with the beach, maybe an amusement park next. After that they could go camping. He smiled and picked up his bucket to fill it with water for the moat. After taking a few steps towards the waves, Izuku stopped short. He could hear voices on the wind, but only All for One had come to the beach with him. Who was he talking with? Had Tomura or one of the other villains showed up? He turned to see who it was. All for One wasn't too far away, standing with his back to Izuku. The person he was facing was one that Izuku knew. All Might. Izuku started running towards them, forgetting about his sandcastle and empty moat. He was here at last. All Might was wearing his hero costume, facing All for One with a serious look on his face. Izuku heard the last of their conversation as the wind died down. "Can't forgive you for what you've done to Izuku or to Nana," All Might was saying, his fists tight at his side. "Nana," All for One repeated. "Ah, you mean the previous holder? Well, she did put up a bit of a fight, but I did give her the same offer I'm giving you, die peacefully or die painfully. She chose the painful way. I wonder which you will choose." Izuku dropped the sand bucket. "Daddy?" he asked uncertainly, a small tremor in his voice. "You killed Grandma Nana." All for One only half turned to face him. "Izuku, it's time to go back to your room." "No!" Izuku shouted and ran towards the All Might. "I don't want to go back." All for One snatched him up from the sand before he could get past. "I think you need a nap, Aizu." "No!" Izuku screamed again, kicking and twisting and doing his best to break free of his father's arms. "All Might, help. I don't want to go back, I want to go home with you." "Put him down." All Might took a careful step forward, hands up to show that he meant no harm. "Yet. You're going to hurt him." "Daddy!" Izuku cried, reaching out to All Might with both hands. All for One twisted him away, looking mildly displeased. "Aizu, your daddy is right here." "You're not my daddy," Izuku screamed, pounding his small fists against All for One's shoulders. "You killed Grandma Nana. You hurt lots of people. I don't want a daddy who hurts people. I want All Might to be my daddy." All Might nearly winced at the dark glare that All for One gave him, clearly blaming him for Izuku's emotions. "Calm down, son." Izuku screamed and kicked, his face turning purple. "Put me down. I said I don't want to go. I want All Might. Give me back to All Might." "Kurogi," All for One called, and a black portal opened up beside him. Kurogi stepped out and bowed respectfully. "Take Izuku back to his room." "No." Izuku screamed again. All for One forced a kiss on his cheek, then handed him to Kurogi. "Daddy." Izuku called to All Might. "Daddy, you can't lose." Before the portal swallowed him up, Kurogi dropped Izuku onto his bed and stepped back out through the portal. Izuku jumped off the bed and ran over to the window, squinting against the sun to see if he could make out the figures on the beach below. As his face was pressed up against the glass, there was a loud explosion from beside the water. The shockwave rattled through the trees and hit the window, shattering it. Izuku screamed and fell back, small cuts on his face and hands. Another deafening boom rattled the room and he covered his ears. What was happening? Were All Might and All for One fighting? Izuku crawled over the glass, wincing at every rattling explosion, until he finally made it to his bed. Izuku dragged his blanket under the bed with him, along with his favorite All Might doll, the one that talked just like All Might. He hugged the doll tight to his chest and wrapped himself up tightly, keeping his hands over his ears. "Please win, Daddy, you have to win. Please, please, please," he muttered to himself between his tears until the air grew silent at last. Izuku tentatively let go of his ears, but was too scared to crawl out from under the bed. Instead he stayed under the blanket with his doll, pressing the button over and over again to make it speak. "Don't be afraid, do you know why? It's because I am here. Don't be afraid, do you know why? It's because I am here. Don't be afraid, do you know why? It's because I am here." It slowly grew dark outside, the room cold from the broken window. Izuku continued pressing the button until the voice stopped working, the batteries dead, leaving him in both darkness and silence. Izuku tried to stay calm, but he wasn't able to hold himself together for long. He did his best to cry quietly under the blanket, waiting for someone to come and tell him it was safe again. "Daddy, I'm scared." He cried. "I miss you and I'm scared." "Don't be afraid." Izuku jumped a little when the doll suddenly started working again. "Do you know why?" Izuku pulled his head out of the covers and rolled over as All Might finished with a smile. "It's because I'm here now, Izuku." "Daddy!" Izuku cried, clawing his way out of the blanket to grab onto All Might's neck. "I've got you now." All Might pulled him out from under the bed and sat with him on the floor, hugging him tightly. "I'm sorry I took so long, Izu, I'm so sorry." "Daddy, I missed you." Izuku sobbed. "I know, I missed you too." All Might started coughing, thick clots of blood sputtering out of his mouth. He kept Izuku close to his chest so that he wouldn't see it. "Daddy missed you so much, Izuku." Izuku sobbed in reply. "I wanna go home." "Let's go home." All Might nodded, wincing and holding in a groan as he slowly got to his feet. He had to lean against the walls to support himself, pausing every few steps to catch his breath. As much as he tried to hold it together, Izuku quickly noticed. "Daddy, are you hurt? You don't have to carry me, you can put me down." "I'm fine, Izu." All Might kissed his forehead. "Everything is okay now. We're going home and that man isn't ever going to hurt you again." Izuku trembled a little. "You promise?" "I promise." All Might smiled and nodded, wincing. He had to set Izuku down and take his hand. "Keep your eyes closed, okay?" Izuku nodded and covered his eyes with his free hand. "Is there something scary ahead?" "Yes, you wouldn't like it." All Might guided him through the hallway to the stairs, ones that lead up to the roof. "Do you have your eyes closed?" "I do." Izuku nodded. "Is it safe yet?" "No, not yet." All Might coughed up some more blood and looked up the long stairs, coated in a trail of his blood he didn't want Izuku seeing. "But it will be soon." Izuku sat quietly by himself, not noticing the patients and doctors that were passing him by. His feet were only an inch off the ground, but he felt very small and very alone, more than he had in his entire life. He listened to the clock on the wall ticking, and slowly wrung his hands back and forth in his lap. Someone came and stopped in front of him, but he didn't look up. 𝐒𝐿 knelt down and carefully tipped 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺's chin to look him eye to eye. 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺, are you okay? 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 whimpered in reply, a matching set of tears running down each of his cheeks. If he dies, then it's all my fault. I promise that none of this is your fault. 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 wiped the tears away. Even if you hadn't existed, that fight between would have happened. But if you hadn't been here, I don't think he would have been able to hold on as long as he did. I don't want him to go. 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 cried, tearing up again. I know. 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 gave him a hug and let him cry onto his shoulder. I don't want him to go either, but he's going to be okay. Why you promise? I can see the future, remember. 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 pulled away and smiled. And when I looked, I saw that he would always be your daddy. I want to see him. 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 sniffed. How much longer till the surgery is all over? It should be done soon now that recovery girl is here. But, after the surgery is done he'll be asleep for a while. When can I see him? As soon as the doctors say that it's okay. For right now, you're tired and hungry and you've had a long day. Your daddy asked me to take care of you until he gets better, so why don't we get you something to eat and then go home? And no. 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 shook his head. I don't want to go without daddy. All right, calm down. Then why don't we get something to eat here at the cafeteria first and figure out the rest later? 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 wiped his eyes and nodded. I'm hungry. I want daddy's waffles. Well, I don't know about waffles, but I'm sure we can get you something yummy. 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 stood and offered 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 a hand. Isn't katsudon your favorite? I bet we can get some of that for you. Oh, okay. 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 agreed. Will daddy be awake after we finish eating? I don't know. 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 stood and offered 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 a hand. Maybe if you eat slow. You can see the future, you're supposed to know everything. 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 frowned. Not everything. 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 looked away so that 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 wouldn't see the worry in his eyes. Though sometimes I wish I could. He's ready to see you. The nurse gave 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 a small nudge, but 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 pushed back. You promise he's okay? He asked again. Go on, sweetie, he's waiting for you. 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 swallowed hard and timidly tiptoed into the hospital room. Around the curtain 𝐿𝐴𝐺 was laying in bed, hooked up to machines on the wall by wires and tubes all over his body. 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 hesitated, hiding behind the curtain. He knew that All Might was hurt badly, but maybe if he didn't see how bad it was then it would turn out not to be true. Toshi saw the curtains move and spotted 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 peeking around them. He smiled and tried to push himself into a better sitting position. 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺, what's wrong? 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 whimpered and took a step back. All Might really was hurt and it was all his fault. 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 came into the room behind him and picked 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 up, carrying him to the bedside. Come on now, 𝐒𝐺, you said you were going to be brave. Are you scared, 𝐒𝐺? You don't have to be scared, you know. Toshi winced as he smiled. I'm here now. 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 clung to 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 for a moment, then reached out for Toshi. 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 set him down next to the bed. Careful, his body is still putting himself back together. You can only give soft hugs, okay? You're going to be okay, Daddy, aren't you? 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 felt tears building up in his eyes. He took All Might's hand. Aren't you? You have to be okay. I'm okay, 𝐒𝐴𝐺. Toshi smiled softly, and doing much better now that you're here. The doctors said that you only had a few scrapes and cuts. I'm so glad you weren't hurt. I'm sorry. 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 sniffed. What for? You didn't do anything wrong. It's all my fault that Daddy is hurt. 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 turned away, but Toshi didn't let go of his hand. 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺, this wasn't your fault. He said firmly. I did get hurt, but I'm going to be okay. As long as I have you, I promise I'll be okay. Really, it's not that bad. You scared me, Daddy. 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐺 wiped his eyes. I thought you were going away like Mommy did. Come here. Toshinori looked to Sasuke, who helped pull 𝐒𝐴𝐺 up onto the high bed. 𝐒𝐵, Your daddy isn't ever going to go away, I promise. Never again. Izuku slipped his arms around Toshi's neck. I love you, daddy. Please get better soon. Izuku could hear shouting coming from Toshinori's room. He'd never heard Toshinori or Sasaki raise their voices like this to anyone, let alone at each other. He stood outside the door, trembling, not sure what to do. You can't keep doing this. Sasaki was shouting. If you return to your hero work, you will die. What other choice do I have? Toshi shot back. I can't just quit. Think of what will happen if I step down. The people need a symbol. And Izuku needs a father. Izuku flinched back at his name. Why do you think I'm doing this? Ever since Izuku came along, everything I've done has been for him. Why can't you just take this opportunity you've been given? Retire now, spend the rest of your life with your son. He doesn't care if you're All Might or not. I can't retire without warning. Then give them warning. Don't make Izuku spend every night worrying that the next time he sees you may be the last. You chose him over your hero career once, I don't see why you aren't able to do that again. You're making this sound like I have a choice. Don't you? Izuku whimpered at how angry Sasaki sounded. Toshi, you lost half of your respiratory organs. I know you're putting up a brave front for Izuku, but how long do you think you can keep it up before someone notices? Until someone replaces me. Who is going to replace you? Endeavor. Best genist. You're All Might, you can't just be replaced. And that's why I can't just disappear. Toshi shouted back. Didn't you hear me? I looked into your future and I saw you die. As All Might. Step down now, while you still can. Izuku took a step back and held in a sob. He didn't like this. He didn't like hearing his father and uncle fight with each other, and some of the things they were saying were making him feel sick. What did Uncle Sasaki mean that his daddy had to stop being All Might? Was it because he was hurt? I'm strong enough to be All Might and look after Izuku. Toshi insisted. And it isn't like I'll be alone. I have you. You aren't strong enough, and you don't have me. The room got quiet and Izuku couldn't hear the rest of what they were saying. After a minute, the door flew open and Sasaki froze when he saw Izuku trembling, crying quietly, hands over his mouth. Sasaki took a knee in front of him and placed a hand on top of his head. I'm sorry you had to hear that, Izuku. Take good care of your daddy for me, all right? Don't let him do anything stupid. Where are you going, Uncle Sasaki? Izuku choked. I'm sure we'll see each other again someday, maybe when you're a hero. Despite everything I said before, you have a bright future ahead of you. He stood to leave. Wait. You can't go. Izuku called after him. Daddy needs you. Sasaki looked over his shoulder and gave Izuku a sad smile. Right now I think he needs you more. Goodbye, Izuku. Izuku wanted to run after him, but instead ran into Toshi's room. Daddy, something is wrong with Uncle Sasaki. You have to stop him. He's acting like he's going away forever. Toshi was leaning against the window and quickly wiped his eyes before turning around. Izuku, when did you get here? I heard you fighting. Izuku sniffed. And now you have to stop Uncle Sasaki before he never comes back. Toshi moved to sit on the bed and patted the mattress beside him. Izuku crawled up and hugged him, almost forgetting that he had to be gentle. Toshi slowly stroked his hair and rubbed his back while Izuku cried, looking out the window as he did. I don't want him to go. Izuku sobbed. Can't you make him stay? I don't want him to go either. Toshi replied softly. But your Uncle Sasaki needs to leave and it wouldn't be right if we forced him to stay. But doesn't he love us? He does, but he doesn't know how to show it. When he's ready, we'll see each other again. Izuku turned and buried his face in Toshi's chest. Toshi pulled Izuku into him and let him cry until he pulled away at last. Daddy, you lied to me. Izuku said. What? Toshi quickly began to defend himself, but Izuku didn't give him a chance. You said you weren't hurt very bad, but you are. That's why you and Uncle Sasaki were fighting, isn't it? Toshi looked down at Izuku's hurt and angry eyes and let out a deep sigh. I didn't want you to know because I was afraid you would think it was your fault. That, and I don't want you to worry about me. I'm the daddy, it should only be me worrying about you. That isn't fair. Izuku shook his head and his curls bounced from side to side. I love daddy just as much as daddy loves me, so I can help take care of you. Izuku, you don't have to dash. A good hero helps other people out when they're sad or hurt, even if it isn't any of their business. Izuku grabbed Toshi's shirt. That's what you told me, Daddy. I did say that, didn't I? Toshi gave an awkward laugh. Okay then, Izuku, from now on I'll take care of you and you'll take care of me. Is it a deal? Izuku nodded and hugged him again, not letting go this time when he asked his next question. Are you going to stop being All Might? You heard that part. Toshi sighed again. What do you think I should do? I don't want you to stop being All Might, but I don't want you to get hurt anymore either. I don't know what to do. It's a tough choice, isn't it? Toshi agreed. You said that you need someone to be the new All Might before you stop. Izuku looked up at him and took a deep breath. I'll do it. I'll be the #1 hero. You will. Don't laugh. Izuku puffed his cheeks out and flushed red. I can do it. I know you can, but you're going to have to get a little bit bigger first. Then you'll be All Might until I can be All Might. Toshi shook his head. I don't want you to be All Might, Izuku. I want you to be your own hero, one that's even better than All Might. That isn't possible. Izuku relaxed and let out a small giggle. Daddy, no matter what, you'll always be the best hero. That's what they'll say until you come along. Toshi kissed Izuku's forehead. You really still want to be a hero? Izuku nodded. I want to be just like you. Toshi nodded slowly, his mind seeming to wander. Okay, he said at last. Then I'll be All Might until you become a hero. How does that sound? I like this plan. Izuku rubbed his sore eyes and snuggled into Toshi's side. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, Aizu. Toshi replied distantly, his mind lost in deep thoughts that passed over Izuku's head and drifted out the window. Daddy, what's wrong? Izuku asked, leaning into Toshi's face and making him jump. Nothing's wrong. Why? Izuku frowned. You have that funny look on your face again. He sat down next to Toshi and mimicked his pose, hands on knees and ankles crossed. What are you thinking about? Looks like you caught me. Toshi laughed. I was just thinking about when you grow up, what things will be like when you're a hero. I can't wait. Yes, I know, now hold still and listen for a minute. Izuku sensed that Toshi was trying to be serious and straightened up, leaning in closer to listen. Toshi nodded and took a deep breath. I was thinking about your quirk and how dangerous it can be if it isn't used for good, like the way your father used it. I hate my quirk. Izuku pouted. You shouldn't. It's your quirk, remember, and how you use it is completely up to you. You can use your quirk to be a hero and help people instead of hurting them. Toshi reached over and took Izuku's hand. I want you to always remember this, it's your quirk, not his. No matter where you got it or how it's been used in the past, it's yours now. Promise me that you'll never forget that. Okay, I'll remember it. Izuku promised, looking down at his small hands. Is that all that you were thinking about? Well, no. Toshi hesitantly admitted. I was thinking about my quirk as well, and how I won't be a hero anymore once you grow up. I wish you could always be a hero. Izuku said sadly. I want to be a hero with you. Well, there may be a way to do that. Toshi said, and Izuku looked up at him. You see, once I stop being All Might, I'm going to need someone to take this power from me. It's meant to be handed down, you know, so that means that I'll need to give it to someone else to use. So, I was thinking that someday, if you want it, there isn't anyone I would trust with this power more than you, Izuku. Why, you're saying that you want to give me one for all? That's right. You're my son and the only person I see being able to take my place one day as the #1 hero. You can do it on your own, I know, but I want to help you. Toshi looked down to see Izuku's response. The boy's eyes were full of tears and he seemed to be trying very hard to keep them in. He smiled and wrapped his arm around Izuku's shoulders. Well, would you like something like that? Yes. Izuku couldn't hold back any longer. He started sobbing and jumped to his feet to hug Toshi's neck. Daddy, you would do something like that for me? I would do anything for you. Toshi replied. But don't get too excited because I won't just be handing it to you. You'll have to work hard if you want to be ready for it. I'll do it. I'll work super hard, Daddy. I'll do anything. Izuku pulled back and wiped his eyes. You're too young to start some of the physical training you need, but there are other things you can do now. Your body needs to be very healthy, so that means a good diet and plenty of sleep. Toshi had already started making plans when the idea had first come into his mind. What about you, eh? You still want to go to school there? He asked, and Izuku nodded. That's where Daddy went to school, so I want to go there too. UE is the best school for heroes there is. Toshi nodded. Which means that it's extra hard to get into. You'll have to study hard and get good grades as well as pass the physical examination. I can do that too. Izuku insisted. I told you, I'll do anything. Izuku, listen. Toshi's tone was serious. This is going to be very hard on you. I want you to be a hero as much as you do, but if you start working too hard and stop having fun, then I will have to tell you to stop. Nothing is more important to me than you being healthy and happy. Understand? Okay. Izuku nodded again. I trust you, Daddy. Toshi softly cupped Izuku's face in his hands. Part of me wishes that you'll never grow up, but I can't wait to see you when you are. No matter what, I'll still love you the most. Izuku promised. You and Hiro are my most favorite people ever. Speaking of Hiro, I think she's been asleep long enough. Go wake her up and we can go to the park. Do you think Shoto will be there? Izuku asked as he jumped down from the couch. I'm not sure, he might be. Toshi stretched and got up off the couch as well. It felt good to go to the park with Izuku and not have to watch over his shoulder for the threat of all for one, and he could tell that Izuku was doing much better as well. He still had trouble sleeping most nights, but he was slowly getting better. Daddy! Izuku came running back to him with Hiro on his heels. What's wrong? We told everybody that I don't have a quirk. What are they going to say if I get one all of the sudden? That's a good question. Toshi tousled his curls. But your daddy has already thought of that. We'll say that your BRTH family has a history of developing quirks when they're older instead of when they're younger like everyone else. So if anyone asks, you just haven't got your quirk yet. Are you sure that's going to work? You would be surprised at the things some people believe. Toshi grabbed Hiro's leash and she barked happily, jumping in circles. But let's leave the hero and quirk stuff for another day. Today I just want to be a happy daddy with his son. That's what you always are. Izuku gave him a hug and then raced to get his coat. Will you help me build a snowman? I want to make one as tall as you are. That might be a little too tall. Toshi clipped Hiro to her leash and followed him. But we can certainly try. Toshi woke up to Hiro liking his hand. Groggily, he sat up and looked at the time. It was nearly 2 in the morning. Hiro was trying to get his attention, but Izuku wasn't with her. What's wrong, girl? Is Izuku okay? Hiro whined and bit his sleeve, tugging gently. Okay, I'm coming. Toshi stood and winced at the pain in his side. He'd hoped that the pain would gradually fade, but it hadn't. It was easier to keep a straight face when he was all might. It was harder to hide it from Izuku. Toshi walked down the hallway slowly, holding his injured side. He could hear Izuku crying. Good girl, Hiro. He gave her a small scratch behind her ears before he walked into Izuku's room. She darted around him and jumped onto Izuku's bed. Toshi sat next to Izuku and placed a hand on his back. Aizu, what's wrong? Are you scared? Izuku didn't answer, but his sobs did lessen. He sat up and hugged Toshi, letting him rock him side to side. Aizu, you know he isn't coming back, right? That man can't hurt you anymore, you don't need to be scared. Toshi rubbed his back while he rocked him. And no. Izuku shook his head. It's not him. Daddy, I'm scared of you. Of me. Toshi repeated. What if you get hurt again? What if you die? Daddy, what happens if I lose you? Izuku sobbed and Toshi hugged him tighter. Izuku, I promise that will never happen. No matter what, I'm going to keep you safe. Even if you can't see me, I'm always looking out for you. I would never leave you. You and Hiro are all I have. You two are all I have too, you know. Toshi gathered Izuku and his blankets into his arms. Every night I'm scared that I'll wake up and you won't be here and I'll be all alone again. I wouldn't know what to do if I lost you again. I don't want to be scared anymore. Izuku cried, rubbing his eyes. He was tired, clingy. Toshi lifted him when he stood, ignoring the pain in his side. He pressed a kiss into Izuku's forehead. You don't have to be scared anymore, Aizu. Do you know why? Izuku nodded, eyes drooping. Because Daddy is here. That's right. Toshi agreed softly. He looked down at Hiro. Come on, girl. Let's go to bed. Toshi knew that someday Izuku would sleep through the night without any help, that someday he would grow big enough that he wouldn't have to sleep with a nightlight. Someday soon Izuku would stop sleeping in Toshi's bed with him. Someday Izuku might stop telling him that he loved him every night, they may even get in fights as he grew older. Someday Izuku would run out ahead of him and not look back to see if he was watching. Someday Izuku would grow up into a fine hero, one who didn't need to be tucked into bed each night. Someday. Tonight Izuku was still a little boy who was scared of the dark, scared of the unknown future, and scared of his past. Tonight he was going to sleep safe in Toshinori's arms with Hiro at his side. Tonight, and hopefully for as many nights as he could, he was Toshi's little boy. How long are you going to keep staring at that picture? Tomura scowled. You can't even see anymore. All for One hummed softly to himself, running his fingers over the small photo of a green-haired woman and her little boy in his hands. Don't you have work to do, Tomura? If you want him back so badly, why don't you just go and get him? After what All Might did to me, it will be a long time before I'm able to go out like I used to. That's why I need you to do my work for me. I will give you anything you ask for, all the power you longing. When everything is ready, I'll take my son and you can keep everything else. Izuku knows how to be patient, he'll wait for me. You're sick, you know that, don't you? All for One smiled and set down the picture at last. Any father without his son would be sick. Tear down society for me, Tomura, rid the world of heroes. As long as you don't hurt my baby, everything is at your disposal. Tomura nodded and left. All for One started humming again, touching the face of the photo. Just wait for Daddy a bit longer, Aizu. I'll bring you home soon.